Our Politics ukipenda. We are streaming live on Facebook from Kilimanjaro Studios outside Washington DC, and we'll shortly be going live on YouTube, so please call all your YouTube friends. Please remember to subscribe to both our YouTube and Facebook pages at the OneMic Show, and then follow us on Instagram at OneMic Show. We are also taking live calls tonight at 202-683-4570. Press star 5 to speak. I will repeat that number again. It is 202-683-4570. Press star 5 to speak. And just to remind you that tonight's show is brought to you courtesy of Money Transfer app Lemfi. The OneMic Show is offering $30 for the first $100 sent on your first transaction using the code OneMic. Alternatively, you can just click on the link on both the YouTube and the Facebook comment section. It's pinned up. Click, download, and you will be able, once you send your first transaction for at least $100, you will get $30 back. So please let us know when you do that. Now, later tonight, we'll be asking if President Ruto acted independently for the good of Kenya by cancelling the deals with India's Adani group. Might President Ruto have been coerced by the US into this bombshell decision following Adani's 54-page indictment by the US Department of Justice? We'll be talking about that. So again, did Ruto independently cancel these Adani group deals for the sake of Kenya, or was there coercion from the US into this bombshell decision following Adani's 54-page indictment by the US Department of Justice? I want you to feel free to start dropping comments below and let us know what you think, and also tell us where you're tuned in from. Na bila kusahau, tumekuwa tukipokea mziki wetu toka DJ wetu machachari mleta habari DJ Omosh Fire, na tutadunda kule viwanjani na Mika Oche zake nambari 7 mgongoni akituletea habari za michezo. Na moja kwa moja toka Kilimanjaro Studios ni mimi mtangazaji na mwanahabari wako mpendwa Ali Badawi. Kwetu wananiita mteule na wengine mniite mjukuu yule wa Masai, because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui na sibagui. Karibuni.
Now, let's talk politics.
There will be a lot of politics tonight, and this hour I'll be talking about the bombshell announcement to cancel Adani projects in Kenya. We'll discuss the US Department of Justice indictment that preceded this cancellation, and we'll be asking if there'll be a political fallout or repercussions as this caught the broad-based coalition partners off guard. Please drop a comment below and let us know where you are tuned in from. Type in the comments and let us know where you're tuned in from. I'm your host and producer, Ali Badawi, and it's Friday the 22nd of November. We are streaming live from Kilimanjaro Studios outside Washington, D.C. Please remember to follow OneMic Show on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And like, comment, share, do everything to get our numbers up in the algorithms. On panel with me tonight is Mr. OneMic Kamakawa. Our sports anchor Mika Och is going to be joining us shortly via Zoom. And our resident DJ Omosh Fire has been on the decks and will be joining us also on set. And also not forgetting that super producer is none other than Mubelwa Wabandio. So I can see a number of people already tuned in. I can see Afro-Jamaican is already in the building. Washeke pale anasema no loot all, cancel the deal because the puppet master ordered him to do so. Now Washeke, please tell us who the puppet master is. We're trying to find out. We're trying to know if there was outside interference when it came to this cancellation. Washeke, please let us know. And I can also see Stephen Bati aka Mr. Sambaza is already tuned in. Anasema tupo site salamu kutoka Dallas, Texas. Of course, everybody in Texas is always represented deep. Earlier on, Washeke was asking DJ Omosh Fire to cheza Kasongo. I don't know why Kasongo started playing and then DJ Omosh Fire kapiga corner. So DJ Omosh Fire will be explaining that later on in the show. And then I can see also
Mute him.
I can also see Washeke is asking what you did. I think this was when you were playing the music. And I can also see Brown Sugar. Brown Sugar is also tuned in. And I also saw Anthony Thuotho earlier on all the way from Boston tuned in. And then Washeke is saying she is tuning in from Jose Cuervo. I don't know whether that's a city in Texas, or I don't know whether it's a drink, or I don't know exactly what it is. Washeke, maybe you can explain that a bit better to us. And Washeke says puppet master is equal to foreign partners. And then Stephen J pale anasema tuko ndani. Texas, stand up. Texas always representing deeply in the building, and we are very, very grateful for that. Now we are going to get started right away. Now, in what came as a bombshell, Kenya's President William Ruto announced the cancellation of multi-billion infrastructure deals with India's Adani group of companies. Reuters reported that one of the controversial deals was worth nearly $2 billion US dollars, and it was to add a second runway at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and do an upgrade to the passenger terminal in exchange of a 30-year lease. Also cancelled was a separate public-private partnership deal worth over $700 million between Adani and the Energy Ministry to construct transmission power lines. Now, this bombshell cancellations announced during Ruto's annual State of the Nation address were curiously made less than 24 hours following an indictment on bribery of senior Adani officials in the US. The US Department of Justice had just indicted the chairman of the Adani Group, along with 7 other senior executives on a bribery scheme to secure lucrative solar energy contracts worth over $250 million. That's the bribery. The bribery was worth over $250 million. Now, the Adani Group of companies has previously been linked to several controversies and corruption scandals in their home country, India, and around the globe. Now, the OneMic Show tonight seeks to find out if President Ruto's bombshell announcement were on principle or if the US forced his hand to drop these controversial Adani deals. The Kenyans have been protesting for months, and tonight we want to find out why were these deals dropped. And at the same time, I want you to please drop your comments below as we get started, and of course tell us where you're tuned in from and what you think. And also want to take this opportunity to start introducing the panel. I'm going to start with Mika Och tonight, who is live and direct via Zoom. Now, Mika, as we get warmed up and we get started, before you tell us about your cold week, please briefly tell us why Kenyans have been demanding the cancellation of the Adani airport expansion and energy deals. Before we get deep into what has happened, but why Kenyans have been protesting against these deals for months. So, Mika, to get us started, tell us why Kenyans were protesting. Mika Och, twende kazi.
Thank you very much, Ali, and I want to welcome everybody else. It's been a good, I want to welcome everybody else. It's been a nice cold Friday, and thank you for joining us. Thank you for braving this winter with us. And without wasting a lot of time, let me just jump into it. This Adani scandal was actually...
Okay, na Mika utaongeza sauti kidogo. Your voice is a bit low on your side.
Nyinyi ongezeni sauti.
Okay. Okay, sawa sawa. Aya, sawa sawa. Let's go ahead, Mika.
So the Adani scandal was brought to the public domain by a guy on Twitter called Solamenya. And I think somebody who works in the airport authorities is the one who put it out, that the airport is being leased out for renovation, this company, for a certain amount of money. And the certain amount of money that was being put out, it didn't add sense. Remember, this is an airport that in 2022, they opened a new terminal. There was already another deal that had been set up by the previous government for creation of another terminal called the Greenfield Terminal, which was supposed to add another runway and another terminal. So that Greenfield project was scrapped out, and Adani was supposed to come over. And the thing is, like, Adani were not just only facelifting the airport, but Adani were going to take the running of the airport from KAA and lease it for 30 years. That's 30 years of Adani controlling how they run the airport, the money they're taking from the airport, they split with the government. And in short, the deal involved them holding the lease to the title for the airport. Now, when this was mentioned out at first, it came out during the protest when Mandamano was heavy. A lot of Kenyans didn't really take too much matter into it. And the young man that brought it out kept bringing it. And then Senator Onchonka is the one who came in public now and started talking about it. And started publicly talking about it. Then it was later learned that the Adani group was not just only involved in the airport scandals, in taking the airport. They were involved in the Ketraco deal, which meant that they were the ones who were going to take over the infrastructure of the power in Kenya and basically take over the building of transformers, power lines, and completing everything and renovations and replacing of everything that is energy in Kenya. And also, there's a third Adani deal that most people don't know, and I don't think most people, the president didn't mention it. And this one is involved in the Shah. So Adani, one of the companies that is run by Adani, is supposed to take the technological part of integrating of healthcare data in Kenya. Basically, this is a very sensitive job. This is something that I do as my job for bread and butter, is digitizing all the healthcare records into the country and putting them into one storage hub so that we can be able to, let's say, a pastoralist gets bitten by a snake in Turkana and they go to hospital and they are treated. If they need to be airlifted in to Nairobi, or they need to go for further specialized treatment to Nairobi, and they go to Nairobi Hospital, the doctors in Nairobi Hospital, all they have to do is enter the patient's details, and they can pull up all their medical records since the records are being collected. And this ensures there's a continuity of care for the patient. So whichever part of the country you are, if you go to hospital, the doctors can know which medications you're on, which treatments you've had. They can see how your body has been responding to certain treatments. Basically, your treatment is on your fingertips. This also allows billing for the patient's treatment to become something called meaningful use, whereby the billing companies, the insurance companies can see exactly what you're treated of and make sure. Most times you can go to hospital and a doctor prescribes to you 20 medicines where only 2 medicines are what you need, because the doctor has a deal with the pharmaceuticals on what they do. So basically, it's something that's meaningful and used, but it's also, healthcare data is something that's very sensitive, as if it's something that is put into the wrong hands, they can basically find a way to manipulate the citizenship of that country and kill you through biological warfare. All in all, these are deals that Adani was being given in by the government. Three major infrastructures: healthcare, energy, and the airport, the main hubs. And this is something that Kenyans looked at it and said no. And the P2P deals that they were doing were done without any due diligence. There was no competition. Everything was awarded to Adani. And then now words started coming out on how these deals were procured, how there are some ministers who went to Dubai. You remember there was a minister who went to Dubai and was detained in Dubai, and he had to go get picked up by the president. And that minister has never left the country anymore. And actually, the last time he left the country, he went to France, and he had to come back real quick. He went during the Olympics after he had been moved to a different docket. And he had to return the country real quick because he realized he can be
Kimeumana.
Kimeumana, anaweza shuka tena akarudi kwa country tena.
Okay.
So Adani has been something that has been on the people's mind. It's been something that has been fought in the court. Okia Mtata have been fighting in the court. The High Court has really delayed the Adani deals to come through. And it's such a shame that the previous day, the president had spoken about Adani.
Okay.
The minister had spoken about Adani that night. But when the US said what they said, somebody decided that Adani is not good.
Okay. All right. That's a very good starting summary. Like maybe for those who just did not know what was going on with Adani in Kenya and just saw the American news, because we have a lot of like quiet audience members who are not Kenyan. So that's what was going on the Adani side in Kenya before this project was cancelled. So Mika, asante sana, karibu. And then hapa Stephen JJ anasema, today I'm sipping slow on the Mama Juana Dominican Republic fire drink. Okay. And I can see also Tabitha Njeri and Adhiambo Doctor tuned in. I hope, your sound ya Mika issue ilikuwa resolved. And then I can see also Njoki Marian is also tuned in. Karibu sana, karibu to the OneMic Show. And then I now want to go to DJ Omosh Fire. But before that, tonight's show is brought to you courtesy of money sending app Lemfi. The OneMic Show is offering $30 for the first $100 sent on your first transaction using the code OneMic. If you don't, the easier way to do it is just by clicking on the link pinned on both the YouTube side and on the Facebook side on the comment section, and go straight and download it. And I can also see, there's a couple of people who already tuned in on the YouTube side. I can see Maura Muroki saying Shiko and Maura ready to hear. Karibu sana. And then Proxy anasema kichwa ngumu. Sa Proxy fafanua tafadhali. Kichwa ngumu ni nani?
I think maybe this was in reference to you making comments about playing Kasongo. That's what I think. That's what I'm getting out of it. But Proxy can tell us.
Proxy will tell us. And then Stephen Batiapa, Mr. Sambaza anasema today it's gonna be hot. It's gonna be fire. So I now want to go to DJ Omosh Fire as we get ready to know about your week. I want you to contemplate this. Do you think Ruto acted independently for the good of Kenya? Just looking at it from an outsider perspective. Or might the US have pressured him into this surprising decision to cancel Adani? DJ Omosh Fire, karibu sana.
Asante. Thank you to all our fans, our listeners, washikiaji, watazamaji, OneMic relaz, and watu wa Lemfi, karibuni. Okay, Ruto, not the week. I'd say yes and no. So traditionally, we've always known Ruto to basically he plays the long game. So for him, it's always about what is he getting out of it? How can he salvage this? How is he going to look up there or look outside, or how is he going to look? Because he has been, what should I call him? The poster child of African leadership. Should I say that the Western world is holding high up? So for him, he's playing the cautious long game. He needs a second presidency.
A second term.
Yes. I was saying second president. Yeah, he needs a second term. He needs to have the powerful peoples behind him in terms of backing him and with his policies and so on and so forth. They also need him, as we have discussed in previous shows, with the different bases for the UK, for the US, and there are probably other players who may not necessarily have known of, who want to use Kenya as a central hub, because it's very easy to operate from Kenya in order to do whatever you need to do in the African region. As well as with even though we have Mavutiano, but we still have peace. If you think about it, it's not UG, it's not Congo, it's not some of the other places that have been volatile and not very stable, so Kenya meets all of those things. And from an infrastructure perspective, it also is there. Digital hub. There's a whole slew of things that you can put towards Kenya. So for him, he's looking at the long game. This was for him to save face, to make it look like Kenya is basically saying that there are a no-go zone for folks, or there'll be there'll be a zero tolerance for so-called corruption, or looking like there's corruption, or if it is known that you have been in a situation where there's corruption, then Kenya is going to say that they're not going to be involved or go to bed with you, which is the statement that they put out more or less by cancelling this deal with Adani. The other thing that we are not privy to, and it's not necessarily being made public, or we're not being given this information, is that the US, as part of their investigation for this whole India bribing and the US investors, putting their money into the Adani deal for the Indian energy sector thing that they were doing. Part of that investigation brought out the Kenyan bribery stuff. So I don't think this is the end of it. There's more to come.
But Omosh, what is the long game that Ruto is playing here?
For me, the way I'm looking at it is that he wants to look, what is it called? Safi kama pamba.
He wants to come out clean.
Is it a matter of wanting to come out clean, or is it a matter of, let's look at how the SEC laws work in America? When they go for you, they usually go for you and everybody that's involved.
Correct.
Rumor has it that Adani was supposed to be a guest of the state in parliament during the State of the Union
State
address.
of the Nation.
Uh-huh.
Oh
Yeah,
my
State of the
goodness.
Nation address, right?
Yeah.
Adani was supposed to be presented, and it was supposed to be a done deal, because the energy part of the deal was done.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
The healthcare part of the deal, which President Ruto didn't say that he has cancelled, is still going on. Because the company is not known as Adani, but
Yes, it's a
Adani
different company. Yes, it's one of
Yeah.
their conglomerates.
It's
Yes.
still going on. So I don't see what long game he's playing there. It's only that what I'm seeing is that it's a thing of, he was stronged up, because if we look at this proper, if the Adani deal was supposed to go, and the way the US laws are that if you've involved in any bribery using an American company, they are going to come for everybody, regardless of what particular position you hold in government. And the people who have been mentioned in the Adani case is the president's boy, Murkomen.
Yeah.
He is the main person who's been mentioned in the Adani deal. So is it a matter of playing the long game, or is it a matter of protecting my people?
So
Because Adani was in Kenya.
yeah.
Adani, he believed his state security was taken out. Chances are he's going to get arrested while he's in Kenya, because he can't leave. His jet was impounded.
So now
he can't leave Kenya. He's most likely going to be the guest of the state within the next week, or already is. We don't know. But
so he's currently in Kenya.
yes,
Okay.
Since the last he was in Kenya. He was supposed to be in parliament during when was it, the day before yesterday?
Yeah, during the State of the
So-
Nation address.
Yes. So it's not sure if he's already been taken out, because his jet was impounded, so he didn't leave the country. So it's just a matter of
Well, he
the
could have
two
taken
countries
first class
negotiating
and
when
gone
he's
out.
getting him picked up.
Now if you know, because I'm hearing this for the first time. So if what Mika is saying is actually the case, what we know is that until the morning before the State of the Nation address,
Yes.
members of Parliament were still in session in Parliament,
Very positive.
and they were defending Adani. You know, like
Correct.
Opio
Adani,
and
yeah.
I, they were defending Adani. So in my understanding, this might have come as a surprise. And even Ruto himself, if Ruto knew, I think this is something that was that he was back armed very like moments, like maybe a day before the speech, and told, like,
I don't think it was a day.
you can-
This
you-
was
you
hours.
cannot-
I don't think it was a day. That thing changed.
Yes.
Because
I
think about it.
I think
Go
these
ahead.
These guys knew about the Adani. They knew about the indictment.
Correct. It was, yes, we all, yes, they
knew.
knew it was happening, but nobody, it had not been, the information
but,
had not
but
come
they
out.
had not communicated it to the
Yes,
team.
information had not come out. See, remember, they were being investigated. So the investigation was ongoing. But then now when they actually said, now we are going to indict,
Yeah.
happened ndio sasa, when as the thing is being released, it seems like probably intelligence pia kabla itolewe kwa gazeti, intelligence ikakuja kaambia hawa say,
There probably was a phone call that was made
yes,
before.
correct. That's why I
he
said
went to
intelligence.
address the nation.
yes.
And that
Okay.
is where he had to wait for, he had to figure out a way on how to. If this indictment hadn't happened, we would have had a very different
Yes.
state
Speech.
of the nation.
Yes.
Speech.
Oh wow, that is quite interesting. Again, the number to call is 202-683-4570. Press star 5 to speak. You're tuned in to the OneMic Show, and of course, we're here talking with Mika and Omosh regarding this. Omosh was saying something.
I was going to say, because out of this whole speech, all we had was Adani. Out of the whole thing,
I know. Yeah.
all we had was Adani.
All people are talking about is Adani.
Right? So then the question you'd ask yourself is, what was he going to say?
So that's that, you know, like this is getting very interesting because you know, and these suspicions that things are being controlled from the US are now coming to life because
Boss.
no one saw this coming. Even the most inside of insiders, none of them saw this coming. And it came so suddenly like a thunderclap.
Vile unaona Mika anasema it could have been that one of a phone call came tiriririri.
Yeah.
That one of boss, halt. This is what's happening and you need to do A, B, C, D, F, G.
Yeah.
Play this game right.
Exactly. And I'd also like, like for those who are tuned in to comment and let us know, like what they think, what they know about what's currently being said. Because now as you're speaking, new information is coming in. And of course, we'll get to know all this. I can see Arthur K. Ocheng is saying 254 to Kondani. Karibu sana, Arthur
That's my
Ocheng.
Kuzo, big shout out.
All right. Karibu sana.
Amenunua bundles.
Karibu sana,
Wait a
Arthur
minute.
Ocheng.
You have a cousin called Arthur Ocheng?
And he goes by that name.
No, boss. How? Kwani Kizito Wazabanga became Arthur Ocheng, who's now your cousin?
Mimi niko na cousin anaitwa Maina.
Okay.
There we go.
Aya, sawa.
Lakini kwa kinamika si tunajua tu.
Okay, let's go back to the comments here. This says, tuning in from Taskabaridi according to the Gospel of Washekendirangu na venye it's node today. Arthur pale anasema ni moto kama pasi ya makaa. So I can see everyone is tuned in. Now, I want to come to fundi wa mitambo, Mr. Uno Mike. We know Ruto was able to buy back support following the Gen Z uprising after getting into a shotgun coalition with ODM leader Raila Odinga. Now, in the wake of the surprise decision to cancel Adani, which Kenyans had been protesting against for a while, does this enhance Ruto's reputation among his core supporters, or does it hurt him going forward? Because Kenyan politics works differently from how the world works. And of course, since that uprising, he's been trying to do things to reestablish himself politically. Now, whether this came by surprise or whether it was planned, do you think this moves helps or hurts him politically moving forward?
I think the shotgun union marriage between him and Rao is gonna be short-lived. It's not gonna go that far.
Yeah,
that is one.
Very short.
Very short. So it was just a goodwill. It was just one of those a distraction, just kidogo, able to kuja hivi tuone so that he can gather support. I mean, of course, what people are saying and saying that it's all about numbers and trying to gather numbers, and the only way you can do that is because already he knows that Murima iliguzwa, amepasua, ameichapa fimbo, so those ones are heading out. So the only way you can get numbers is to try and get Raila in so that you can get whatever numbers that he has politically, so that you don't rely on the mountain,
Central.
on the central. Anyway, it's going to be short-lived. Unfortunately, there is that he it's like Mika unakumbuka Plaxico Barres vile aliingia nini the incident akajishoot,
he shot himself,
right?
Yeah.
So even if you have a mtoo for protection, lakini you're misusing it and mishandling it,
or you don't know how to use it.
You don't know how to use
Yeah.
it. So you have, and there are statements that Raila has even said, he knows that even if he is going to open a construction, or is going to open a plaque or construction or whatever, he already knows there's already an MP who already has a tender. Those are not things that come from somebody with whom you're supposed to be. You have a broad-based government together with. So
Sharing a bed.
So you can't. So it is, and the problem is, in as much as he keeps on touting, hii mambo ya building na ajira and whatever, the reflection and things on the ground, and I'm sure even Arthur who ako 254 anaweza tuambia.
But core supporters, I'm talking of core supporters, not fickle supporters.
Core supporters.
Let's look at his core supporters. Let's go down and do a deep dive into his core support, right?
Yeah.
And let's start at his backyard. In his backyard, a place whereby the previous president from that region came from. The president ensured there was development in that country and gave them a university that was given a lot of courses that were supposed to be in the major universities that were already existing, but gave it to that college and made one of the biggest universities in Kenya, in Moi University. Right now, Moi University is on the verge of dying.
Plus an international airport.
Yeah, yes, there's an international
and
cargo
a bullet
airport whereby
factory.
all cargo
That's
in,
an
all
elephant.
cargo in Kenya that flies into Kenya flies to Eldoret. Like it's guaranteed. It flies cargo yendege ingiagi na airport ingine Kenya when Eldoret. JKIA kidogo, but majority of it goes to Eldoret. Right? That airport is also fluctuating. It's not working the way it's supposed to work. In his other regions, we are seeing his governors, his all facing impeachments. And they're not impeachments that are being pushed by their opponents. It's impeachment that are being pushed by the constituents. MCAs are fighting every day. They want to impeach speakers. Like basically in his political base, there's trouble already. That shows there's that defiance from the masses. He, during the Gen Z protest, what he did was, his MPs were suffering. He went and solidified with Baba, made sure he had numbers, and that allowed him to use parliament and politics to push and to calm down the protest and to sort of bulldoze his way into back to the top as he was. But the protest had exposed a weakness, and that weakness has never gone away. The defiance of the people. The people got hungry. People got mad. People realized we can shake these people. They're not untouchable. And that has continued up to now. When he did his Murima thing, in Central MP, now they're already collecting signatures to be called his MPs, the ones who supported it. In the other side, in Embu, when he went for the canonization of the bishop, they were singing in his face, must go, must go. Na amewapatia vice president, hao ndo alikuwa amewapatia vice president, hao ndo alikuwa anamwambia aende. They cheered on Gachagua, they cheered on Uhuru, on him, they were booing him. Forget even what the clergy talked to him about that day, because he already had fought with the clergy. Now he has an issue with the clergy. He fought with the biggest church. The second biggest church joined in. The third biggest church joined in. Already Supkem was fighting him. They were not listening to him. So you've lost, let's say like 80% of the religious leaders in the country. You have a measly 20% that your wife controls, that he buys. We go back to ODM. All of a sudden, ODM mouthpieces, Kina Sifuna, are calling him out. Like Sifuna has come back like he never left. Hawezi jua ule Sifuna alikuwa hapa akiruka akimtetea. Amegeuka, amerudi ule wa post maandamano. Anamchapa. Then Raila said what he said. And you remember that day I woke up and nikauliza kwani ODM hawajakanjwa? Because it looked so funny, like, wait, I thought these guys are together in bed. What's happening? Now all you've been seeing is a few bloggers who come out and pay, and now bloggers pia kwa WhatsApp group zao wanapiga screenshot, wanashare, wanaonyesha vile kuna shida kwa hizo zao. Like basically the house of cards is falling. The house of cards is falling, and now we have this international pressure that's coming in, right? This Adani deal screwed him up completely. Like the Adani deal has just exposed. Unajua ile unafikiria bado uko na longi moja ya mwisho alafu unaiva hivi ukienda kufunga inararuka hapa kwa rasa.
Yani wise.
Hiyo ndio imefanyika kabisa. Like the US exposed him in a way where, and you know this is not something he can control, because this is something like if he tries to strong arm his way and say ni hivi, it's okay. You have corrupted the United States government. You have stolen our money through corruption because these companies are registered here. The money is from here, so you've used American money for bribery. Guess what the Americans will do to you?
And to support, to buttress Mika's point, and I think he mentioned it, his core supporters actually were bought, if you think about it.
Bought by who?
Bought because the core supporters, I mean, the people who supposedly were supporting him, the core.
Yeah.
Ni watu, you remember when even MPs were coming out and most of these guys who are in parliament, they were saying, it doesn't matter what ground wanasema. It is the party that it's Dani that put me here.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there are any core supporters. They were only core supporters because they were
got paid.
And that's what Mika said somewhere in akisema alisema walinunuliwa. Because you remember how he was harvesting, he was cannibalizing the opposition.
Yeah. And the Baba, a person who has like core supporters, right now he's holding the fragility of this government, because if Baba pulls out, he's now completely exposed, and ready to fall apart. So
one thing,
yes.
ODM have started doing the groundwork structure. They are doing their party elections. They are positioning themselves to secure their bases against invasion in the next election. So bado sana napigana huku. What is ODM doing? ODM is restructuring, getting ready for 2027.
But now kuna watu wanasema TS sasa ndo wanavunja ODM vile wameingiza broad-based government. There are people who are saying that.
If you've noticed, and I think Sifuna gave us a snippet of it here on the show, where he said, if you've noticed, the people who have been appointed, ni wazee.
Meaning they were on their way out, or they were out.
Yeah, and the leadership of ODM, when Baba went for AU, ODM did a sort of a reshuffle without elections.
Correct.
Like, in 8 coast issues, positions were secured, positions were tied up. Like, basically, ODM as a party doesn't need to go for elections. It's set up. The only thing they have right now is they're going for the ground local elections. Those are the elections they're doing right now. But their top office is secure, everything is good. ODM is ready to run for elections right now, with or without Baba.
So basically, they are kind of preparing for the by-elections once IEBC is set up.
By-elections and 2020, but mostly of what they're doing is 2027, because they're doing a whole countrywide, all constitutions.
All constituencies.
Elections are happening right now.
Okay, all right. That's interesting to know. Like, it would be nice to get Sifuna again, and hear from him, because things are becoming very dynamic.
I'll send him a text.
Yeah, send him a text and let him know. Now, hapa Steven JJ anasema Rawali tuangusha big time, alafu akakuja kusafisha Adani, nimechoka. And then Washeke says the ground is really hostile, evidenced by what happened in Embu. And then hapa Steven JJ anasema trouser ya mwisho imeraruka. Okay. And hapa I want to remind the listeners that you're tuned in to the OneMic Show, and I'm your host and producer, Ali Badawi. We're here talking about the bombshell announcement by President Ruto cancelling the infrastructure deals with India's Adani Group. This follows a 54-page indictment of the Adani chair and 7 of his senior executives by the US Department of Justice. We'll shortly be talking about the Kenyan church reprimanding the president over state-sponsored abductions and corruption. Does the rejection of donated funds mark a new beginning in the relationship between the state and the church in Kenya? I want you to stay tuned for that. And our lines are open. The number to call is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. The number again, 202-683-4570. 4570. Press *5 to speak. Feel free to call in. And also reminding you that tonight's show is brought to you courtesy of Money Sending App Lemfi. The OneMic Show is offering a whole $30 for the first $100 sent on the first transaction sent using the code OneMic, ONEMIC. More easy is you can just click the link on the YouTube or on the Facebook comments. It's pinned, and you can straight go download it from right there. So a lot of other things to cover tonight. Now, we know that a lot of politicians, now coming back to you, Mosh, a lot of politicians on the ODM side, and of course we've already started talking about ODM, which segues well into this part. A lot of politicians, including Baba, have for the last few months been spinning for Ruto a narrative on how Adani is a great company, that it's clean beyond reproach. Now, in the wake of the president's announcement cancelling Adani, what does this do to Baba's reputation from amongst his core supporters? Because we've seen all the jokes of him being depicted as a sanitizer, of him collecting his money and all that. Where are things going? And of course, Mika already gave us a preview of what's happening in ODM. But what is the base saying? Almost fire.
So you know, Baba's core supporters are Baba's core supporters. They're
Yeah.
going nowhere. And basically what would end up happening is if he decides he's running, wako na yeye.
Yeah.
If he decides he's going to endorse somebody, wako na whoever he is going to endorse.
Yeah.
They are going nowhere.
Now,
Now-
isipokuwa 100% because Baba supporters are talking badly in Nuru.
You see, there's talk and then there's reality.
Yeah.
Because
Almost kitu moja unajua watu
Okay.
wamesahau ni
Wacha
Ule
Omosha
imetoka.
amalize. Wacha Omosha amalize point yake, alafu utaingia Mika. Omosh.
what is coming out of this thing about Adani? If you are just looking at it from the outside in, meaning when mtu ambaye umesikia tu Adani, umepiga tu kuangalia zile projects wako nazo, and remember even before this exposure that came out with the US government, nobody was necessarily saying at vitu ziko mbaya nini. There had been some rumors or fununu kidogo, but nothing substantial that somebody could hold. Right? And based upon the work on the ground that they had done, which is how that statement was made, was based upon ile kazi wamefanya, blah blah blah, watu wako poa na wanaweza fanya hii kazi juu tushaona kazi yao vile imefanyika. Mimi mwenyewe nilienda huko na nikaona. That's
Okay.
basically
That's what he said.
That's what he's endorsed. Yeah, he said he went to he's even been to that airport.
Yeah.
The one that these guys facelifted and did the same type of I guess I'm not saying it's the same type of deal or same deal, but it
Yeah.
would be something similar where they did a facelift and so on and so forth with the airport and improved it and that type of thing.
It was a complete new build.
Right?
Yeah.
So from what he's saying is that based upon that, I say mi nawapea tick juu nishaona kazi yao.
Clean bill of health.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now comes back that watu wanapewa kitu not because wanaweza fanya job but because wanaweza toa brown envelope.
Yes.
Sasa hapo then you have to question, okay, how many other people were sidelined who could potentially have done this for less money and done a better job because nobody else ever even competed for it because it was a straight up P2P PPP, which basically was never put out there to anyone else.
Yeah.
And it was a direct engagement.
Yeah, it was a direct engagement.
Sindio?
Yeah.
So, and that's part of the thing is like, okay, fine, we need to get this done. Why don't we make it competitive so we get the needs from everybody? We have people who run airports, people who are building airports, people who are doing all sorts of different things. I'm sure even that guy of the Nigerian guy who's got what? Is it Gatwick? He's a Nigerian guy who has Gatwick.
Yeah.
I'm sure that guy, maybe if he had known that kulikuwa na kakanini, pengine angekuja kaingia, juu anasema, I'm just saying.
There was a company that actually wanted Qatar, the one that does Qatar Airport, the Qatar company that does Qatar Airport, and the one that has the Rwanda Airport deal, and the Ugandan Airport deal. There was that. There was Dinata that does Heathrow, does Dubai, and I believe it's negotiating to do a few American companies airports. There are
Okay.
American companies that run airports that could have done. There were a lot of companies that could have done.
Correct,
was
but they were
that.
never given a chance, were they? This was a straight up deal that went because it was nini. So all I'm saying is that hapa kwa baba alikuwa naenda na zile vitu ameona na zile vitu. Now it's coming out that brown envelope ndio hiyo.
But Omosh, before you go back to Mika, Omosh, like the problem with what Baba did is that it was no secret of the dirty deals that Adani had been doing. They've had cases of corruption
Correct.
within their own country.
Correct.
Like this was not it wasn't a secret. Like
There
even
was actually an outcry from Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, who he was taking over the power companies because of the deal that he had signed for them. He had crashed the power in the power distribution in the country, and he was taking over those. And there was an Australian government actually had a warrant of arrest out for him, and they had kicked out the company based on environmental negligence and corruption. There was which other country? Like the dude has so many cases that were outside there. There's a reason why there was this American investigation that's going on. So Omosh, we cannot say here. Unajua umeongea kama fanua baba kabisa vile umesema baba die. We cannot
si nimeulizwa ni opinion yangu.
Ndo nakwambia opinion yako ni ya baba die hard. Nikikwambia tuwezi try kusana. Mimi pia
What did you ask for? So you asked about die hard.
No, yeah.
Mimi siwezi try kumsanitize. Niseme ati baba looking out from outside, he only saw the Gujarati airport, and that's the only one airport that they have built.
Now, Mika, going back to Omosh, you see what I like about what Omosh is saying is that we need that perspective from the core, from the diehard, because ngoja Mika, because also perspective or rather perception is everything. So like you Mika and I, yes, we can see through this, you know, like, and I don't think the average Kenya was following the case that Adani was kicked out Australia.
The other ones, yeah.
Yeah.
There are many. I think this guy has cases probably in every country.
So Baba's message maybe might have resonated with his core because people are not aware of all these other, you know, like issues. However, the Senate kept discussing a lot of these issues that Adani had. Where now this becomes problematic for Baba, had the US not done this indictment,
investigation, yes.
Yeah, I think, you know, like politically, Baba would have sanitized it and it would have sailed. But the problem now, because this thing is now out in the open, Baba now has egg on the face. You know, like whether he likes it or not. He has egg on the face because his ministers and even himself have been sanitizing this for a while. The ones who've been consistently sanitizing
I don't
this.
think so, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Ali, do you think, or you guys, do you think that maybe it's time that Watukaki na Baba need to look at Baba, Ruto, what they need to look at politics different, and this is not the same Kenya of 2022.
No, it's not. You're right. It is not.
I don't think the electoral is the same. I think it's time that they start the kuangalia politicians kama kina Sifuna who can play both sides easily because they know how to do vile Ali amesema, they know how to sell perception. They know how to get on the bandwagon and they know how to jump out of the bandwagon real cool and look like they were not in that bandwagon at all. Because if what I'm saying, what Baba did was politics. Baba anajua mimi nikisema Kibaki tosha. That's how he knows to do politics, right? Ruto anajua yake ni ile nikiwadanganya it's gone. Like ile politicking. The only type of
politicking, yes.
Yeah. And I think they need to realize that sahi mtu yuko ushago pia na Twitter.
The base is different.
Alafu kuna Facebook pia, right? In a day, it's like 2.7 million Kenyans log into Twitter. 42 point something, alafu 20 point, ilikuwa 20, number nimeona leo mahali, 20 point something million Kenyans log on to Facebook. TikTok has the most. And
that's a lot.
Kwa kila mahali.
Now, Mika, I agree with you, but with a caveat or a disclaimer. I agree with you that the electorate has changed and the dynamics have changed. The caveat that I'll put is that it's not been tested on the ballot. So I think part of the reason why, you know, like Baba, Ruto, and all these old school guys are still holding on to what they know is because it has worked the previous 100 times. So until we have a by-election and they see something, then I think that's a point when they will react.
Do you agree it's something they need to start reconsidering? Because najua kwa wazee they have the wazee vote. Najua vote ya wazee wako nayo kabisa. Hii hata ni ngumu kuchange wazee akili. Ndio natemia maandamano.
They definitely need to start reconsidering, but Mika, you also have to remember, you know, I'm dividing Kenya's history into 3 parts. The first part was the KANU era, you know, like Jomo Kenyatta and then Moi. There was generally one way of doing politics. Those who never read the signs were swept out after the 1992 multipartyism election. Then from that 1992 multiparty, Kenyan politics changed, and we've stuck to that situation for another 30 years, because 1992 to 2022, that's 30 years. So now we are in phase 3. But now phase 3 has not been tested, because now the KANU of between 1992 to 2022 was now this merry-go-round ruling party and opposition, because that's the way politics has been done in Kenya. You know, like start a term and then, you know, form a coalition, and then all of you now start eating against the people. That's how things have been done. So now we are in phase 3, but phase 3 has not quite been tested yet. And I think that is the jitteriness that's out there that's even making Kina Ruto and even Raila not confident enough to push for IEBC. Because once IEBC is set up and once the first ballot is cast for the by-elections, there are around the 10 by-elections that are supposed to be there, I think that will be the beginning of phase 3, and people need to prepare themselves.
You see, even with Baba, what's not also helping is like the CS, Opiyo Wandayi. When he comes out and says, it doesn't, just because over there, those guys have said whatever they said over there, over here, that is over there. This has nothing to do with this over here. So we'll proceed with it. Right? That's what he said.
Yes.
State of the Union.
That's why I think there's something that we don't know.
Yes,
either this thing was a surprise factor, like a couple of hours before the speech, or maybe Ruto might have known earlier, but like, you know him, he likes coming out as the hero in any crisis. He let other people ban. He let other people ban, and then he'll come out as, I am the one who cancelled the finance bill. The MPs remain with egg on the face. I am the one who cancelled the Adani deal. So now he comes out as the hero, and all these other guys in the broad-based government remain with egg on the face.
Ali,
Let me go to
that one, yes.
Yeah.
Ali, you're totally right on that, because the FBI were the first to release the statement, right? And then the SEC followed, and then New York, the district court followed that with the statement and released the statement of Adani. Based on how governments work and the relationship that Kenya has with the US, I'm sure there was communication before.
Okay.
When that was put in. Now, what I want to remind is that, do you remember the day before the PSC fired all the permanent secretaries and put an advertisement for permanent secretaries?
When was that? After?
No, before the day before the
State of the Nation.
The State of the yes. I even shared that newspaper clip when they advertised for this position, like all the PSs were fired.
Yeah.
So the thing, what I think is that we know for Ruto, and the reason he fired some of his CSs is, and the issue that he had was that they all have to sing from the same hymn book. If this is the government position and everything, you're going to sing the same hymn book, regardless of how it is. You're going to sing the same. That is why you even find the deputy speaker. I've never heard before a deputy speaker speaking out about the matters of what is happening in the country. Like a deputy speaker supporting things like Adani, supporting things like Chief. Like,
that's very unusual.
That was very. I've never heard anything like that. You hear the president PA speaking in public as who? You're not a government employee. You're not elected in the government. You're a personal assistant. You are a private employee for that guy. You're not supposed to be, unless the press secretary is the one who's supposed to speak, not you. Yeah, Pia, he's holding rallies and speak. Like, it becomes such.
It's become so chaotic.
Yeah, it's become like, the more drums we beat, the more they'll dance to the rhythm. So to pick it to kelele to boom 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 boom. Back at the first ladies addressing people about such stuff, asking for forgiveness that if we've ruled badly. Woman, you're not ruling.
Now
you be a president too.
Now, wacha tusome some comments up, because comments have been coming in thick and fast on Facebook. Stephen Bati anasema, I want to know how an opposition leader from Uganda disappears on a Saturday in Kenya only to appear in a military court back home after bells start ringing. Then we have Turkish asylum seekers, 4 of them who were returned after being abducted. That's really telling about our sovereignty as a country. We're going to be talking about this later on in the show. So hapo Sambaza, stay tuned. We're going to be talking about that situation. Now, Adhis anasema, baba bado ni Jadwong, Jakarworth. Mika will kimbiza me back to Alego, but huko ni kwetu. Call Kipchoge, I can run. And then I can see hapa Sambaza again is saying, Ali, I can tell you that Mika has a very important fact regarding the way the young generation that's between 18 to 25 years old listen or get content from the internet from their so-called trusted sources. This will change the landscape of politics come 2027 and beyond. Okay, and then Arthur Chieng says, and also remember, hatuna interior CS, then if Weta speaker atakanyaga nje, ODM is waiting for those 2 seats. Kama hawatapata Ruto by February 14th atakuwa Sugoi akichoma mahindi. I don't know what's the significance of February 14th.
Valentine's.
But, yeah.
Isn't that like the window with which there has to be to have, I guess, cabinet?
Yeah, there has to be.
Is it IBC?
The full IBC alafu pia interior CSS.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
And then Sambaza anasema bread best, Ali bread best. Hakuna mkate ngumu mbele ya chai. Okay? Haya, sawa. Na leo watu wa YouTube wamekuwa so quiet. YouTube, please, like what's going on? I can see Bakora anasema sema Opio wa Andani kurukwa kipetero. Okay, Bakora karibu sana. Bakora
ni chirchir.
Yeah. Bakora karibu sana. Bakora karibu sana. Please tell us where you're tuned in from and let us know what you think about the discussions that we are having out here in studio. Now, what does this saga do to Kenya's reputation as an investment destination? Because remember, these stories are now on all the places where international investors look for cues. We're talking about Wall Street Journal. We're talking about the Financial Times. These are the places where international investors look for cues. This is where they kind of like directly communicate to international investors. This is what's happening. So with the indictment coming in the US and Kenya cancelling it, this Kenya one has also become international news. When you listen even to, I've been listening to news sources from India. This thing is so big. Like even Congress, Congress is discussing it. This thing is so big out there. So as an investment destination, Mike, what you're thinking, if you're an investor, you're looking from the outside. Are you looking at Kenya and you're like, that's a place that I want to put, like my $10 billion that I have on a big project, or my $20 billion?
Well, it depends. If you really don't care about, for lack of a better word, protocol. Like how the US is very stringent on what you do.
Yeah.
Like you can't go out there, you can't go out to another country. You can't. Kuna motaratara, there's protocol.
There's a process, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're countries that really don't care about corruption, what for me signifies so all you have to do is just bring a briefcase. Tuleta briefcase, tulalambisha watu kakitu, barabim baraboom. It depends. If there are guys who have a reputation to protect pertaining to corruption and they don't want to be associated or affiliated, they're gonna stay away. But places or countries or companies that know happening, like for each is it depends on the opportunity that they see. The opportunity that is being shown here is about our tu ni kulambisha watu.
Kulambisha, yeah.
That is it.
Lambisha and you'll get something.
And
so the bad actors who are willing to do that are like, that's a place to go.
Of course. Because remember, this thing is being viewed in two ways. As they say, one man's meat is another man's poison.
Yes.
Right? So like if you hold on, Mika, like so like if you see how this thing, the fact that the Adani decided to play within the US and in this financial market, having listening to what you sent us.
Yeah.
I'm not a finance guy, but it's like the fact that these Campus, there's some companies that were here that were investing in that company, opens them to investigative career from the US and the government and whatever. Other companies, how many times and how long have we said that, you know, like when you look at the East, when people started facing the East, those guys, they don't care about what goes on in other countries. They won't interfere.
No.
Ukitaka 2 billion, shika.
Let's
Lakini
go to
sisi,
business. Yeah.
tufanye biashara.
Yeah.
So it depends from which lens.
Okay. Mika, you wanted to say something.
So what I want to say is that, remember, so if we would have taken Adani and they're corrupt, and he knows you are corrupt, then that means we'll not have worked with a lot of companies from the West. Because their government their government will be like, okay, go invest in that corrupt country, we start investigating you. And most companies will not want to be tied, to be their name to be tied that they're working. So there's a reason why Walikata here, because apart from saving his people, it's saving face. Like, you also have to save the country and be like, wait, I need investors, I need people to come in. So this is going to affect me this much. No, I don't want. So it's something that the cancellation of the deals was a good thing, but they also need to cancel that healthcare deal that they have. It's very bad. It's very bad. It's very bad. Like, it's no, and it's still Adani, so that needs to be cancelled too. But that was a saving of face moment. Si ati aibu tu alone, hata kibiashara.
Wow, you know, and it was so close. Omoshfa, I wanted to say something.
So, Mikasi, you know, that deal of Shashif, Sisafcom are also in it.
Excuse me, it's now Shashif. Wasn't it given a new name?
Shisha.
No.
It's Taifa Care. Taifa Care.
Oh
it was given a new name. Yeah, it was given a new name.
It was given.
You add lipstick to a pig.
Taifa Care.
It's called Taifa Care
it's
now.
Not Shashif no more.
Okay, yeah. So since it was given the name of Taifa Care, you reset the clock and start from that day, omitting that you've had the last 2 months of no treatment.
We don't know that, bro.
No. Taifa Care is just like you're going to put unatoa sign ya Dodge, uneka sign ya Benz.
I know what you're saying, but all I'm trying to say is that it does not negate the fact that we've had people with no health care for the last 2 months.
And
people...
It doesn't.
Right?
No, it doesn't, yeah.
This is why you saw him hapo akipeana lip service akisema the amount of money that has been set aside, right? And now the things that he was talking about and saying it's bringing coverage to everybody, it's doing everything.
Yes, universal.
Now what he didn't say is that the complaints that the people put out, and the complaints the people put out is that I was paying 15,000 for chemo. Now I'm paying 100,000 for chemo.
Oof.
I can't afford it.
Oof.
Right? And that's per session. And the shift is covering 10,000. So 90,000 is on me. Isn't it what you are saying me?
Yeah.
Right? The coverage has reduced. Most people, what they were getting from the other coverage, Aiko.
Correct.
So you're trying to say you're broadening up to everybody. Okay, you're broadening up to everybody. But then you're covering people with nothing. And that's what people are complaining about. Then people are complaining that hospitals are saying we have not been paid for months. We don't have supplies because we have not been paid. So we are not taking anybody. We'd rather take private pay.
Yes, because they'll pay.
So, yes. The other insurance was taking people abroad for treatment.
Yes, they
were.
were.
It was covering.
Yes.
This one, if you go abroad, it goes back to you have to do an arambe. He didn't mention that. All he mentioned was just he put makeup on that pig, proper makeup on it.
Yeah, and the payroll deduction also.
Yeah.
The cost has gone up.
So it's gone up to a point whereby they're saying, I saw I call him Mo. He's a money market guy in Kenya. Talks about finance, an account on Twitter. He talks about Kenyan finances, knows his stuff about Kenyan finances. He was saying that right now, with the shift and affordable housing deductions,
correct,
plus the taxes you pay, the government
it's about 40%. How many percent?
45% of some.
Yes, 45%
of your paycheck.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And also, I wanted to say, the bloggers have been busy at work.
Now hajachukua stima.
Identifying at people. Of course, they're going to go and they'll pick guys and say,
Yeah.
oh, Shah has worked.
Yeah.
Or Shif has worked.
Yes.
I'm talking about those guys are working on overtime. But of course, we can tell that these are selected cases.
Yeah.
Kuna watu, and by the way, kama
and those are paid
please
people.
tell us.
Yeah,
Paid.
those are paid people.
Yes.
Yeah.
But which
Those are paid
which
people.
hospitals have already been set up? Because remember that there was something that came out, and I don't know if you guys remember this, when they were going to the Shah shift, when they were doing the transition, the biggest issue with this whole thing with the hospitals is that the hospitals did not even have the forms that they were supposed to jaza and give back to Gava so that they themselves would be registered to start accepting payments.
Payments.
Right? So it meant obviously that as a patient, you are coming in, you don't exist because you're in limbo. You're with NHIF, which you had already paid. Then now you're supposed to be transitioned over to Shashif, and you can't go to Shashif because this hospital you have gone to, where you've gone for your regular treatment that you had last week under NHIF, is it's not there, it's not registered yet, and they have not been told even how they're going to get paid. And that is why the hospital administrations are like, wait, we are here to make money, or we need to be able to at least pay our people. How can we pay our people if our patients who are coming in, who are supposed to be billed, we don't even know how to bill because it doesn't exist.
Now, you see, this Shashif thing was
Excuse me, Taifa Care.
Taifa Care.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome.
It was a money heist opportunity. And you see the way this thing works, they might be collecting more money now.
Correct.
They might be collecting more money, but the problem is you're collecting more money, but you're offering way less care.
Correct.
Than was being offered before. So this talk of universal healthcare that you keep shouting about,
It's just a talk.
ni heka za bunwasi na visa vya alfulela ulela.
And you
Like
remember-
there's no universal healthcare being offered here. And now bring in
Housing.
Adani.
Oh,
Bring in Adani, because Adani was also part
they
of
were
what
part of that. Yeah.
these Adani guys. It's kind of like they're like those brokers. You know the way sometimes you could go somewhere, kuna broker, I can get you anything. Ukitaka viatu, ukitaka shati. If
vile mulikuwa na viatu Vegas.
yeah,
Ama-
if you need a goat,
Oh, sorry.
if you need a goat, if you need a goat, if you need anything, unajua kuna wale brokers, ukitaka kitu yote anakuletea.
Spectacles.
So it looks like Adani is that kind of company whereby they go looking for people who can finance big projects and then put together people who can work on these projects and then bribe here and there and then make money out of that. So that's where we currently are. NHIF was not perfect, but it was working.
It could have been modified.
have been
and
improved.
made to work.
And
Yeah.
that was all.
Yes.
That was what of most of these guys who are trying to support Chief or what were trying to restructure. Like even that's what the former CS before she was fired was being asked. What exactly is wrong with NHIF
That you can't fix.
that you can't fix?
Yeah, these guys
And
don't
they
even know.
couldn't.
They couldn't even answer.
And there's a clip that is circulating. I don't know if he's a lawyer or something. He was saying that what needs to happen is, and most of these politicians, they will push and make sure that Taifa Care is implemented. But they themselves
has to be implemented.
they themselves have got their own.
Yes, they have a different.
They have a
separate
different
cover.
kind of
Yes.
They have
cover,
a different
They are-
cover,
yes.
yeah.
which
They're
is
not
coming
gonna
from
use
the
that.
taxpayers.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that cover allows them to travel overseas for
yes,
treatment.
Yes,
Yes.
and I think if
Including
again,
their families.
including
by
their
the way.
families, and
Yes.
if Wakenya can actually wake up to that and get to know that that okay, as we're being made to suffer here, tunanyang'anya, a certain portion is being by force, but yet when I want to seek treatment, I can't. When my mother wants to seek treatment, she can't, or my
can't.
father,
She
whatever.
cannot. No,
Yeah.
But if
Harambe.
these idiots want any type of career, they fly out.
they
fly
get on
out.
they get on a plane.
They get
Yeah.
on a plane.
Let me read a few comments here. Comments have been coming in. Alfred Ayanga anasema amefika pia. Anasema on mic check WhatsApp. Hakuna kucheck WhatsApp. Weka your comment hapa. Let us know what you're thinking, Alfred. And then hapa Washeke anasema all these scandals are eroding investor confidence. We are telling the whole world we are open for business, for mafia, cartel, etc. And then Stephen JJ says, same article was on Business Daily. Take home at 55%, noma sana. And then Arthur Ochieng says, like me, I do work from 7 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. No overtime. Jaribu kuongea kesho and you're fired. And then Stephen JJ anasema Adani
This is the famous cousin.
Yes. And then Stephen JJ anasema Adani mse wa ndani, kila kitu bei ya jioni. Ndo hiyo Adani, that's how they're operating. And then Apa Bakora on YouTube anasema, how about Kenya government paying in Haiti expenses? I see Trump akiruka hiyo story. Ruto goose is cooked.
Apparently,
Yeah.
Let's see.
Kenyan government bill
Yeah, they've
in
paid.
Haiti
Yeah.
is 2 billion
It's 2 billion and they've already paid.
shillings and counting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They
okay.
paid and then watarudishiwa. Yeah, watarudishiwa.
Yes.
Now Trump akiingia
So-
ndo watajua ajui.
Well, you know, hawezi ruka hiyo story.
Watarudishiwa.
Watarudishiwa. Hawezi ruka hiyo story.
Well, this is Trump.
Hawezi ruka.
This is Trump.
Hawezi. Kuna agreements hapa hawezi ruka.
Those trade agreements that you cannot just look at them.
Huwezi ruka
Like-
hiyo kitu.
Okay. Haya, sawa, wacha tungoje. So
Akiruka then nini wanakata kuprosecute Houthis.
oh, Kenya.
Yeah.
But you see the problem ya
You know,
Kenya. Yeah.
They have interest in Kenya.
There's a lot of interest in Kenya.
And he gets his trade agreement back.
Mhm.
Alafu pia atapata nini? Ata-renegotiate kwa trade
Yeah.
agreement yake sasa.
And then unajua pia Trump, another win that Trump will want from Kenya is a military base. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised to see President Trump visit Kenya. I will not be surprised. Let's wait and see. Kenya will be one of the African countries that President Donald Trump shall
Raundi
visit.
hii.
Yes. And I say this because of your geopolitical influence that they're trying to exert.
Hata mi-
Yes.
I totally
It makes
agree with
sense.
you on that.
They were all unable to get that. Unaona sasa Sudan kuna proxy war. So both Russia and the US were not able to get a base because both of them were angling to have a base. And in fact, that proxy war is being sponsored on one side by Russia, on the other side by US in Sudan. So now the closest place in that area, in that region, with access to the Indian Ocean, ni Kenya. And I'm telling you, that's going to be a very big part of
It's not the
of Trump's
closest
presidency. So hiyo hapo
the-
is what might give Ruto life. But now I don't know how he'll transition from liking Biden to because Trump Trump is very insecure with those things. So you are all over Biden. Now, how do you start showing
It
your
is
loyalty
a
to me?
strategic partnership that has been ongoing for 60 years.
Huyu jamaa mwenye alikuwa anatukana Raila na sasa ni mabest.
No, ndo hivyo, but no, I agree.
This guy knows how to kiss us when he wants to kiss us.
Yeah. But now I'm saying now on Trump's side, because Trump's pia ni mtu wa kuenda na mambud zake, so that's something that we are waiting to see. Kuna hiyo trade agreement, but then I'm just having
But
concerns
let me
about
tell you
Kenya
how it
as an
works.
investment destination. I'm having a bit of concerns, and I think I agree with Washeke when we say now like legit investors are looking
the
at Kenya.
confidence.
And they're like, I don't know. But mafias and cartels and people who want to bribe.
It's still one of the better places to go to invest in Africa.
It still is. But
Even with all of this crap.
yeah.
Ali, let me tell you how he's gonna sell it. If he gets a base, all he has to say is that, you know what, we are adding another base in that region near the Gulf, which protects Israel, makes it easier for our forces to be near Israel. Because the next base wako nayo hapo ni Bahrain. Right? From Bahrain, the next one they have is in Turkey. So if they add another base there, they control Africa. But then guess what? Pali Kenya iko, it's right next to the Gulf of Eden.
Wow.
So he can easily sell it. Easy.
Okay. Na alafu hapa Alfred Yenga anasema it's high time the housing levy should be scrapped. So there's so many things going on.
Isn't that thing illegal, actually?
These things went to court.
Was the housing one ever say, did they ever come out and say, okay, hey, iendelee? Ama those guys went kifua?
At a government in illegal.
Yeah, because now
Oh yes, you're right, because aina ile allotment inafaa kuwa nayo.
yeah, so Napa Afro-Jamaican is saying Botswana is coming up, but they just don't have the population. So I think Kenya, we have so many things right,
No,
but we have the
Botswana
wrong
is
leadership.
Botswana sikakolandlo kwanza.
But Botswana is a very interesting place for investment, and I think that's where
You know,
Afro-Jamaican
for
is
investment
coming
is
from.
good, but then you cannot be, if you put a military base in Botswana, then you're so umezungukwa na Angola.
You have to go. You have to pass through.
Yeah,
You have to fly over certain
have to
spaces. You have
fly
to
over
pass
so
through
many
whatever.
spaces.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah,
international waters to launch your ships and keep going and do whatever you need to do. It becomes tricky.
Okay. Alafu
Kenya
hapa
is perfectly katikati ya dunia.
Alafu
Right in the
hapa
middle of the world.
Adhis anasema looking to be a mafia wife. Washeke, please connect me. I'm lost cause Ochieng's arm is busy. Like I don't know what she's referring to, but I also want to remind the listeners that tonight's show is brought to you courtesy of Money Sending Up Lemfi. The OneMic Show is offering $30 for the first $100 sent on your first transaction using the code OneMic. Click on the link either on YouTube or on Facebook and download the app and start using it. The first $100 you send, you get $30 back.
And apparently, we've had testimonials from users that there's even more money that's coming, depending upon how much money you send.
Well, for those who've been using it, talk to us about your experience.
Let us know. So it's not only that kaudate that
Yeah.
you're seeing. Yeah, so it's also dependent upon how much money you're sending. And by the way, they have the best rates from all the apps that are out there that we use.
Absolutely,
They have
yeah.
the best rates. So
And this is not saying just go and compare
Yeah,
it
I'm just
yourself.
telling you that mimi siku hizi zile vitu zingine sijui waga sijui na mapingu sijui ziko na sijui na manini, I don't even partake.
Yeah.
By the way, pingu walitoa pingu.
Oh well, see, okay, well you're right. It's no longer.
And then
pingu.
up Afro-Jamaican is saying the base was going there. I think maybe Afro-Jamaican is referring to Sudan. Please confirm. It was the new president that cancelled the US base deal. That's in Sudan. So Afro-Jamaican, tell us a bit more. Sudan is one of those topipics that
Sudan is
international
and
media
right now
has,
things
has
are bad.
ignored.
Right now things are thick.
Yeah.
They are actively fighting
Sasa
every day.
unaona, the thing is, if they get, and see, Biden was angling for two bases, Manda and one in Uko
Turkana.
Yeah. If Mr. Make America Great gets in, gets to get the bases, and he gets the two of them, and then throws another one in West Africa, he's achieved what the US has been dreaming.
Okay.
Right?
All right. We are gonna wait. After swearing in, we'll figure out where the priorities will be. And one of the cues that will tell us what Trump will do is the ambassador that will be appointed. That typically is a cue of the direction they want to take.
You're
Yeah.
talking about in Kenya?
Yeah, the
Got it.
ambassador to Kenya that
Got
he
it.
appoints, because typically if you appoint just a normal career diplomat, it means it's business as usual. And then when you appoint a certain specific person,
Correct.
who's a political appointee, it shows that. Remember when Meg Whitman was appointed as Kenyan ambassador to the US by Biden, that was a signal to say, Apa, we are coming to harvest business.
Things are not normal.
Yeah, things are not normal. We're coming to harvest business as much as possible. All right. And then Afro-Jamaican says Botswana cancelled the US-based deal. Give us more details on that, Afro-Jamaican. And then Gidraf Nganga all the way from Pennsylvania. And Asema Trump is very transactional. 2 billion shillings is pocket change given what he'd like to do with the puppets in Nairobi that Biden created. He'll therefore pay Kenya's Haiti bill. And then Gidraf says the Tswanas are much smarter than us. And then we can Ruth Kilungu is watching instead of being in the studio. But it's okay. Wanna move to other news before we forget, because time is also moving very fast. Now, trending this week, it looks like the church isn't buying forgiveness with cash anymore. Now, as per the Standard newspapers, the Catholic Church rejected donations by the president and Nairobi governor last weekend. This came days after Catholic bishops issued a statement accusing Ruto of peddling lies and allowing runaway corruption as the health and education sectors in the country deteriorate. Now, the Anglican Church of Kenya issued a separate statement in support of the Catholic bishops. And then SUPKEM also had something to say about this. That's the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims. Now, Mike, let me come to you on this one. Now, because now that the church seems to be speaking against the state, how often has the church opposed political leaders? Because it appears to be new to certain people. Because for a very long time, they've seemed to be on the same side. They've been taking money, they've been sanitizing political leaders. But is this a new phenomena, or is there a time when church leaders used to oppose political leaders?
As far as I can remember, what I know is individuals, maybe. If you guys remember Reverend Timothy Njoya, right?
Walipigana na Moi.
Walipigana na Moi. This other one that I think there was another guy.
Muge.
Alexander Muge,
No,
the one who died in a mysterious
Yes,
accident.
that one.
Yeah.
You know,
There wasn't there a guy, Peter something?
Cardinal Otunga also as a leader.
Cardinal Otunga used to throw jabs, but not so much.
But you see, there's the
No, before the multi-party elections, Catholic Church ilipigana na Moi.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We also had, on the Muslim side, we had Khalid Balala, the original Balala. Wachaneni na Najib slaking. We had Khalid Balala, who...
Sini familia moja
Yes.
tu.
So that you see, those are isolated incidences where individuals in a church are coming out, but not like how the religious fraternity is coming out now
En masse.
and you know, it started
And
with
they
that.
are all united.
And they're all united.
And
it's-
feeling zero.
And it started with that lady. I can't remember her name. I even asked to ask my mom, who is this lady who came out? Apparently, she's very popular.
Also, that clip that was going around of the lady was...
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Because for a long time, most of these Pentecostal churches, most of these leaders, these Kegosho guys or whatever, they would not in any way come out. And in fact, at one point in time, prior to, you know, the image of this guy being church going, Nimcha Mungu,
Yeah.
you know, going to seek blessings. I'm sure you remember we were seeing all those pictures of Korea, of them kneeling down, being, you know, their hands being laid upon them, like even with Trump. The 180 that the church has done, I'm even shocked. I'm like, okay, I've never seen this before in one voice. Ata Korino Bwan.
Now, what informed this sudden move? Because the church has...
I don't think
up to until the last
this thing
election.
was sudden. I think it's been building and it just hit a wall. They just exploded.
And
but I could be wrong.
No. I think it started with Gen Z.
Okay.
Yes.
Na kusalimiwa.
I agree with you. And
Okay.
It started with
occupying churches.
Occupying church.
Yes.
And you remember the way All Saints Cathedral the way na kuna si wasn't
Kusalimia
yule
watu.
daktari aliwawa, si ndio? There was a doctor who was killed, right?
Yeah, there was a doctor, but I don't think
That was part during alikuwa hapo. Wale watu walikuwa nafanya zile manini. Walikuwa natibu watu.
In
the parking lot. Because remember, they were being given, it's ni kama they couldn't set up anywhere.
Yes.
They couldn't set up anywhere. They were being given, and even people were hiding in churches. Those churches were even hiding folks. And I think vile hao wanaongeaga wakakuja wakasema boss ni hivi.
Walikuwa napeana maji.
Yes. But it took Gen Z.
The first aid camp
stations.
Yeah.
Yes.
And unakumbuka even churches accepting money, like somebody came, wana accept pesa, whatever. Gen Z wanasema, church ya Ali imepokea kerea, hebu tuwasalimie.
You know, the people were saying the Gen Z uprising did not work.
Acha nikuambie.
The people were saying that because there were so many people who are sitting on the sidelines.
It's still a trickle-down effect.
Because
that thing is still
all these things that you're seeing right now, even Adani becoming a big deal in Kenya, all this was things stacking up.
Correct.
And from Gen Z, from the Gen Z uprising.
And I think it was Stephen Batty or JJ Hapa Mika mentioned something about a certain age range between 18 and 25.
Yeah.
Those ones are not the ones who are consuming news like our parents did or whatever.
No, they're not.
So for them, and again, these leaderless, this tribeless or whatever, those are the guys. Hao ndio wameanzisha.
Unasikia wao sema nini? Au tuongea lugha moja. Wao sema tu IBC na kuja siku gani tukura.
Si ndio?
Yeah.
And those
hiyo ndio wanasemanga tu wote kila siku tunataka kuchukua kura hii mwaka mtatutambua. Like for them walisema mnatupiga streets sawa. Unajua pale tutawapiga.
But also don't forget, and also don't forget, I think also like with this thing, like, unasikia hiyo mambo ya Embu. When there was that
when there was that
canonization or whatever.
Yeah.
Don't forget, there's also this is my assumption. There's also that discomfort of what happened to Rigiji.
And it's coming out.
It that one of being forced out and everything. But remember, this is Gema, right? So even people are seeing this, and the ground is hostile.
The ground is shifting.
It's shifting, and that shift also now exacerbates the reaction. Like, so you can see that first watu ni kusalimiwa. Gen Z walikuwa nasalimia kila mtu.
Salimia.
Okay?
Yeah.
They know a teacher, if Ali's daughter is being taught by this teacher, and this teacher is married to Omosh, and wanaishi hapa, so kusalimiwa utasalimiwa. Then on top of that, now when you add that, now everyone is being blasted or whatever, na nyinyi watu mnachukua pesa, na hizi pesa hizi ni pesa za ushuru. This is the money that we are being taxed almost bone dry, and this is the same money that the engineer anaenda kupeana, ni kama like hii tutaleta hii na hii tutaleta hii, alafu anaweka mabibi zake wawili sijui what. Gen Z ndio walianza hii kitu.
Yes. And now you see, I mean, I think the church has read the signs of time, but what I'm not understanding is that the church started returning money, like that was being donated by the president.
Yes.
And I think by
Sakaja,
by the governor.
By governor of Nairobi.
So my question here, and this is now coming now as not a Christian, what's the process, because I know that the Catholic Church and the Anglican Church might have different processes. What process do they have of accepting this kind of money? Because you typically see politicians go give a speech and then say nimetoa 1 million, nimetoa 2 million. So like, what's the process of giving this money in church? Because I believe churches have a mechanism of accepting money from people who want to donate for whatever reason. Is there like a process?
I don't think there's a process.
No, so the thing is this, like
I want a process.
There is 2 ways of donating money to the church that is usually done. There's tithe and there's offering, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But then
they have projects also.
On
building
how they
fund.
donate is during projects, right? They come and give it like in terms of a donation for something that's happened. Like
building fund.
Sakaja and Ruto gave money to that church. It was money for building
the pastors, the priest's house. Yeah, I don't know something.
Yeah, the
right?
priest's house.
Then
and
bus.
Uniform for the school that the church runs over the area. That's in Soweto. Soweto ni ghetto. Huko Kayole huko. Ni ghetto sana. Right? So that money would have gone far. But that money was coming after him fighting it and his people coming out and talking against the church and calling the church hypocrites. But the church stood by what they had called him out for. And when he went for the canonization, all the fathers that spoke, even the one that was sent from Rome, from the Vatican, they all were speaking on one
representative.
One hymn book.
Yeah.
And on that hymn book was like, the government needs to do this and this. Uhuru is the only person who came and tried to be katikati, akisema msipigane, but pia akasema sikizeni kenye mnaambiwa, right? He told Ruto sikiza kenye mnaambiwa, but pia akaambia church na gava msipigane. He was the only one who actually, Uhuru ndo alijaribu hakutaka kutextize, na yeye mwenyewe alisema sipendi maneno mingi siku hizi, siumwi na kichwa sina nini. Like me, I'm happy, I need my happiness. But the voice of the church during that ceremony was the same thing. They called out the president. Even when he started going there, started talking about Shashi, Shon, Abduzake, about his beginning, the ground was very hostile.
Taifa.
Yeah, because the ground was very hostile to it.
Yeah.
And so he knows all his ways that he's been doing. He's been buying pastors and churches. And
yes.
him going, I'm sure Ruto has never gone for Catholic service. That was the first Catholic service that he was gone since he became president. Actually, this was the second. Alienda canonization ya kwanza, which he wasn't supposed to go since he's not a Catholic, but alienda Uhuru ndo mkatoko hapo. So he had the right to be there. Huyu mwingine alienda tujue ni president na deputy wake anatoka huko, walifozwa akaenda hiyo. So
you see
that was a colonization. The mass in Soweto hangefaa kuenda. So hiyo kuenda na Sakaja wakienda hapa tujue ni Nairobi, obviously walikuwa wanajua nini wanaenda kuenda. So and they gave out that money. So giving out that money, even the church knew that Ido haita like
watasalimiwa.
Ido ni bribe.
Yes.
Like, hata bila kusalimiwa. The church just knew that this is a bribe. Like it doesn't look good on it. It doesn't look good in any way. And that's the reason why the church returned the money. And when you saw the church return the money, what happened? The other churches, Anglican, there was an Anglican bishop who I think alikuwa amepewa kitu hiyo Sunday kwa church yake, akaongea mbaya, but he was corrected by the national office, akaambia nope, we are with the Catholics.
Because you know
PCA pia wakakuja akasema nope, we are the Catholics. SDA pekee ndo hajasema kitu.
Tunaangoja. But you know, with Catholics, one thing you have to understand is, like, you know, when you look at Catholics and when they look at our evangelicals, there's a very clear distinction. It doesn't matter which state, country, whatever you go. Service ni ile.
Yeah.
Yeah, Catholic service.
It's the same
Catholic.
It's always different and they're always flashy.
It's customized.
And if you notice that most of these guys, they don't, you know, maybe they go to Catholic, but sana wanaenda wapi? Wanaenda hizi my evangelicals, Kirea, kina Pastor Nganga, Wanjiro, uyu bishop.
Huko ndo kuna freedom kidogo.
The freedom, because guess what? You know, it's prosperity. It's the prosperity gospel.
Okay. Now, does the Anglican Church have a structure like the Catholic Church?
Yes.
Does it have the...
remember when I said the second largest church in Kenya, New Anglican.
But now my question, sasa awa kama kina Pastor Nganga na kina Kanyari, where do they fall in?
I'll see Anglican, evangelical, evangelicals, prosperity gospel.
So those ones are, those ones don't have a structure.
No.
Ayao ni kama kina helicopter, Church of God of the Diocese,
Uyu,
ninja evangelical, like
Shakahola.
Hata sasa mimi naweza fungua church.
Yes, hiyo Shakahola. Because remember, it's prosperity.
Yeah.
And as long as you can, TB Joshua, you saw the documentary. It's prosperity. You know, 310.
So Anglican na Catholic ndo ziko na, there's someone up above who, like, if there's problems down there, there's someone accountable up above somewhere at national level or even at international level.
Anglican, their head is the Archbishop of Canterbury, ule England.
Okay.
Because Anglicans ndo walikuwa wala King James, wale walitoka kwa Katho. Like Anglican ilikuwa Katho vile Anglican ndo
they disagreed with the Pope.
Yeah, original Martin Luther ndo aliform Anglican vile alitoka kwa Katho.
Okay.
Sasa yeye ndo akaform Anglican. So mdosi wao ni huyo the Archbishop of Canterbury, huyo yuko London.
Okay.
Yeah, like huko.
Okay.
So, and then Katho ni Vatican, Rome. So hao wako na structure. Then the third one that has a structure in Kenya ni ile wa Kikuyu, PCEA.
Okay.
Presbyterian. Church of East Africa.
Yeah, hapa hata washeke anasema Catholic, Anglican, Presbyterian have a structure that governs and dictates how the parishes are run. So Presbyterian, hiyo iko wapi? Hiyo pia iko England ama Mother Church iko wapi?
I don't know.
Presbyterian I think pia ilitoka England.
Okay.
Yeah, actually Presbyterian pia ni England, ilitoka England. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting to know. So yeah, so that's the. I mean, it's very interesting. Like what.
Actually, Ali, I'm wrong. Presbyterian is
Yeah.
Scottish.
Or Presbyterian is
though
Scottish.
English. Yeah.
Ah, okay. All right.
So it's an interesting thing with the church, the way it has been active.
Yeah.
Kutoka Gen Z wanze kufanya hiyo kitu na kusalimiana.
Yeah,
that I believe has been the genesis.
And I think this might restore, like the credibility of the church from amongst the younger people, because the church in Kenya, and this is coming from a non-church, I always have to put that disclaimer, but the church had kind of lost credibility, especially with the younger.
Yeah.
Especially with younger Kenyans, and even just normally how you hear people talk about church.
I think the church lost a lot, not only the younger. The younger, ile generation, ni kama, now you have, our Gen Z, now you have the choice of going to kanisa. It's not your parents who are taking you.
Yeah.
Au wakajitoa.
Yeah.
From generation yetu.
Yes.
Alafu,
Our generation.
Yes, sisi ni wale tulisema, to heck with this nonsense. Because it is indeed nonsense. And we're just not dealing. Hapo ndio pali watu wako. Now the grandparents, meaning like our parents, are the ones who are hapo they're still, okay, the local priest, the this, the that, kanisa nini, tuko na mchango, building fund, blah blah blah. Hao ndio bado wako hapo wanangangana. But our generation, it's kind of like they're like, this church has not done anything for us, and we're not boarding. To heck with it. So watoto wetu, meaning our Majenzi, they're just not, they're like, if the paros are not boarding, they're not boarding. Yes. Mm-hmm. I remember when we were going to church growing up, ilikuwaga ile ya, okay, ndio hii sadaka nenda kanisani, lakini ule mtu anakupa sadaka aendi. So you're like, okay,
at some point,
it becomes your own salvation. Now you have to play the game of what, so it's like you're being given those options.
And there's a time going to church
of whether you need to, whether you want to go or not.
And there's a time going to church was like the in thing. And when I say church,
correct.
NPC.
And activities that come out
NPC.
of it. The plays, the
deliverance
singing,
church, those things.
Doing the ease of it is sorted. It becomes a meet and greet.
Like a kahanye.
Yes, it's a meet and greet.
It's
where you need to be seen.
Na watu.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I do remember. I do remember, like growing up.
You realize that they want your money.
Yeah.
Like I remember, I recall growing up, like ikifika siku kwa watu kwenda kanisani Jumapili, unaona neighborhood hakuna watu, ni Waislamu tu ndo wamebaki sasa.
Watu wameenda NPC, Valley Road,
people have gone.
But Ali used to go to church.
But that
he won't admit he used to go.
That changed. Now in Lenana school, one very progressive thing I like about Lenana school is that it was one of those schools from a very old time where people were not forced to. People, like people of different religions are not forced to perform, like siati service sasa lazima kila mtu aende.
No.
Yeah.
Like even career.
So you didn't have to go chapel?
School.
No.
So chapel, we used to go to the chapel for what was called principal's talk. Okay. It wasn't for a service.
It wasn't for a service.
So it was just a gathering.
It was just a gathering.
Like
Understood.
It was just a gathering. But now the thing, when we were in high school, like you could not be hanging around if you're not going to church on Sunday. So Muslims used to come together and we would get a sheikh or someone.
You're given a
space.
Right?
You're given a space.
Watu wa SDA, mnaenda kwenyu.
Kulikuwa hakuna nini.
Watu wa Katho church service, whatever, mnaenda, we had a chapel.
You do know the thing that keeps the young people in church. Ni shule. Without schools, young people not be going to church.
Correct.
Because schools do schools, vile Ali amesema, hata sisi shule kulikuwa like different denominations, but ungekaa tu kwa dom.
Hakuna kukaa kwa dom.
No.
Yeah.
You have to go somewhere.
You have to go somewhere.
Yes.
Hata hiyo Sunday imam alikuwa na kama anakuja na watu wa Muslim.
Yes.
Jaribu kuskype utaona.
Tulikuwa na Wahindi kwa sita. Wahindi pia walikuwa wanakaa kwa class kivyao. SBA the same thing.
But I used to see the big schools like.
But then ukienda the main assembly hall ilikuwa inachukuliwanga na evangelical church.
Hawa watu wa kuokoka hao.
Wale wa kukesha.
Hiyo ilikuwa so but tulikuwa tukienda games, tukienda shule zingine, kama Msingu walikuwa wanaenda service ya Friends Church wote kwa
Okay.
wote.
Yeah.
Then you go to like St. Peter's Mumias, the whole church goes to the Catholic Church.
Yeah,
So
so
church ni Anglican, wote wanaenda Anglican. But so hiyo imeendelea mpaka leo. So the schools is what making these young people go to church, and others pick that habit from it. Like obviously watu wataisahau Mungu.
I see what Mikasi is
yeah,
saying.
yeah, you know, like it's not like and I can even see with Kenyans. Me have always said, even as a Muslim, I sometimes get worried with how I see people relating to Christianity, like they don't care about it anymore. I get worried when I see that, and part of the reason why I get worried is because in as much as some of these religious institutions have not done what they're supposed to do, but I shudder to imagine if we had a society that was completely absent of religion.
Yes.
It's easy, like to because a lot of people are angry at religion. It's easy to say that things will be much better off if this is pulled out of society. But when you look at when you start looking at other societies now, like the United States, where like essentially religion is really actually US is not that bad. I think Europe is where, like especially Christianity, people are not going to church anymore. Yes, and they're advanced economically, but there's quite a number of social issues I feel like that they're going through that they don't even know how to start dealing with.
Schools like I saw it, Lenana, I think it was Lenana, State House, St. George's, Nairobi School, Kenya High. Because I grew up SDA.
Yeah.
They used to come in school uniform. Hata wanaletwa na bus ya shule.
Yeah.
Walikuwa napewa ile leave slip.
Yes.
Wakuje to go to kanisa for SDA.
Yeah,
and
Maxwell.
Yes,
Guys used to go to Maxwell.
They used to come to Maxwell.
Yeah.
Na ile with a big bus. Ile
Yes.
loaf yenyu ile
Yeah,
changes.
because changes had so many
There
SDs.
were many. Now most of them, after even the ones who are not SDAs, became SDAs as part of ndio wapata yako kalifu.
Ndio wapateo lift,
Yes.
yeah.
And a trip.
Yes,
Yeah.
wanakuja wakishuka hivi wanashuka wakienda home. So si tuko kanisani au wameshuka wameenda home. The key was to make it back by
On
the time
time.
the bus is picking guys
It's
up.
bouncing.
Same thing with Pacherians.
Yeah.
Same thing with Bomerians.
Yeah.
Same thing
Oh,
with
of course.
State House, and same thing with now St. George's, when St. George's became a boarding.
Yeah.
Christian Union was a thing to join.
That was another one.
Yes.
Or SCAO and Girl Guide / Nini.
Drama club,
Yeah.
music.
And then
is-
of course music festival na nini hapo sasa ndio umepenya.
umepenya ile deadly.
Mika na swali.
Sorry.
Mimi nakwambia pale mimi nilikuwa tania na church. Nilikuwa mzuri mpaka nilikuwa mtoto misa. Kwa hiyo tu altar boy. Mzuri kwa nini? Napenda kanisa sana.
Yes.
Nilikuwa naenda church mpaka naenda mass za Wednesday.
Oh wow.
Sikuwa naenda tu mass ya nilikuwa naenda mpaka Wednesday. Now I became a teenager. Nikagundua pombe. So kwa time tulikuwa na variety show. Sisi tumepanga variety show the whole time.
Yes.
Tukaenda tukasema variety show na bo. Chale mwingine, an older guy from the estate, older than us, akatuambia twendeni hivi shopping. Akaenda akatubaia bia mbili tukaonja. Tulikuwa chalikawa 6 hivi. Katubia mbili zimetubamba, labda katubia kilikotoka Songam, Kibuku Songam.
Nakumbuka hiyo Chibuko ya.
Tukachukua hiyo Songam tukaenda nayo church.
No.
Saa 1 usiku pale visho iko. Imagine umse akaenda katushtaki kwa father, akasema father wao walikuwa wanawaka. Na sasa hiyo kwa hiyo visho wamezimataa wasondara na matepo. Like unazondara line. Mpaka father anaonozana darana, lakini sisi ndo tukafukuzwa juu tunanuka pombe. Tukasema yani juu tunanuka kiroro mkanifukuza na kuna swanda na hivi. And that was for me, nilikuwa mwisho kabisa siku hiyo. The next Sunday niliamboenda church, nikakataa, nikaanza kuona Cartoon Network. Na hiyo ndo nilikuwa mpaka leo.
Wow. So I think, like with what the church is doing, I think they're realizing what has happened and they're trying to reestablish their credibility, especially amongst amongst the younger people, because with the younger people it's very different. So with before Mskiti, let me just read a couple of comments here that were coming through. Sambaza hapa anasema I listened to Fanyamambo, the Kenyan dude, because its congregation was complaining about hospital bills. They own a lot of hospitals, and also the schools they run are massive. So the idea of education money is not being distributed to the schools was an issue since they were suffering and their congregation. The reason the church came out strong. And then Washeke anasema Mika Anglican was started by Henry the VIII when the Pope refused to give him divorce from Catherine of Aragon. Martin Luther started Lutheran Church. Some history lessons here. And then hapa Gerald Oliech anasema the non-denominational and charismatic churches have been a joke. And then Gidraf Ngang anasema thank you Ali for that point. Religions have done a great job cultivating the moral value framework we all operate in despite its weakening in recent years. Absent religion kabisa, enter real actual hell on earth. This has started happening and it's a real cause of worry. And then Gerald anasema the church and politics was never supposed to mix and they will not be beneficial to both church and congregation. Now hapa Maura on YouTube anasema a Bible for land. Look at us now. And then Stephen Stacy Okoth anasema Wakorino pia amesema wataki. And then
huyu Stephen anaitwa Stacy pia.
Yeah, Stephen Stacy Okoth. Yeah. So
Tangulini.
Well, sasa
hapana afafanue hiyo jina ingi hapa afafanue hiyo jina. Oh sorry, endelea.
Okay, and then hapa Maura anasema the Methodists are about to break up. And then anasema Anglican church problem is that last word. I don't know what you had wanted to write.
I don't know if he was writing it in Ebonics or he was
amesema na kunywa nini? Cold pumpu mama nini naitwaje? Kunywa nini hiyo?
Yeah, whatever you're drinking.
What is Maura possibly imbibing in?
Yeah, but what I was gonna say, unaona the miskiti have been they operate very, very differently.
It hasn't changed though.
Yeah,
it has not changed.
It operates very, very differently, and that's why sometimes I like explaining it to people who understand it from the way a church operates. Mosques operate very differently. First of all, there's no membership. You know, like I cannot say I'm a member of the mosque in Germantown or I'm a member of the mosque in Silver Spring. There's no such thing.
You are a member of the religion.
Yeah, you're a member of the religion.
So you go where it is practiced.
Unaingia. You know, like hata nikiingia Sarajevo kesho and there's a mosque naingia, no one will ask me a question. It operates very differently. And
we saw that, by the way, me and my friend over here, Uno. We saw that, and it was, I must say, that experience was something else.
Yes,
it was.
Because the two of you had a chance of coming to the mosque when we were praying for. No.
What's with the hostility, bro?
Wondering, boy. He has already labeled us. Sisi watu wa wale, in fact, and then he didn't even give us. Hata tuna kaptula.
Unajua kwanza hiyo word kafiri ni watu ambao hawamwamini Mungu. So I know it's sometimes a bit loosely used.
Yes,
but it's not. It does.
Someone else can take it. Us, we don't take Mika seriously, so we are okay.
Yes.
Yeah. When my grandmother passed away,
we were supporting him.
Yeah, and she was buried on the same day, and they were able to.
Yes.
And
we were part of the ceremony. It's a very interesting thing. That's one of those things that I may one day write about when I decide to pen a book.
Yes, and you know the interesting thing I found out is that I discovered now with General Ogola's death that Luo burial customs, the actual Luo, not what they're doing nowadays, like the way General Ogola was buried.
Up, of the body.
It's very close.
Yes.
It's very close to the way Muslims bury.
But at least you kumbuka when I told you, like, if you do look in history, unajua kwa Luya kuna Islam
wengi sana, yes.
And Kisumu was a very big trading post for the Arabs.
It
like
was,
when they were
yes.
trading with the inland, because hiyo ndio ilikuwa ina connect all the trade that was coming in from the Sudan,
Yeah.
Congo and India and everything. And that is why even Uganda, most of
There's
the
a lot of
Ugandas,
Muslims, yes.
the Kabakas in Uganda were Muslim.
Yeah, ni wengi
before
sana.
the British wakuje.
Mhm.
So Islam was, there's a reason, I think there's that interaction is what the hiyo customs zikakuja zika mix in together, because Islam has a very huge footprint in that region.
Yes, it does. Now, the way we operate differently, like there's benefits and there's also some challenges that come with it. In that we do not necessarily have like a centralized figure. Like the way the Catholic has the Archbishop, the way the Anglicans have they have someone. So we do not have that centralized figure. So that has its benefits, and it also comes with its challenges sometimes. And the other big thing is that within the faith, the Quran is a very open book. It's been demystified. Nobody has a monopoly of it. You have very young kids who memorize the Quran, so that reduces tunaita kwa Kiswahili, inapunguza utukutu kutoka kwa maulama. Like when you want to introduce something, most of the people you're talking to already know the book. You cannot introduce a new verse. You cannot introduce, like most even
the Quran of Trump.
No, hakuna kitu kama hiyo hapo. Most people already have familiarity, so it becomes difficult. It becomes difficult to come up with your own, like school of thought or with your own ideology and stuff like that. So what I haven't, like quite, what I think the Kenyan Muslim, I don't even know, because SUPKEM pia, it's an umbrella organization, but then they don't have the kind of influence, I would say, like what the Catholic Church has on Catholics or what the Anglican Church has on Anglicans. But what I'd like to see is a bit more of an aggression into the political space on issues affecting people, because it's kind of like we've stayed away. And because we don't invite politicians to mosque. As a politician ukikuja mosque, there's no space for you.
You're just a regular Joe Blow.
But hold on, isn't there a time some people went for
they didn't speak.
They didn't have to speak, but they went there and they
no, that wasn't in a mosque. That was not
Actually,
a mosque.
yes, it was a.
That wasn't inside a mosque. That was at KICC. You're saying when Kina Ruto wore those
and
icon skitty. Yeah.
GG.
That was not a mosque. That was KICC. I mean, that was wrong. It was still wrong what they did, but it wasn't inside a mosque. Hakuna msikiti tani.
Unajua nini? Hata waliongea kweli, waliomba tu.
No, waliomba, hawakuongea.
Yeah, so unaona, like the way, the way a mosque operates, there's no space for a politician to come and speak. Because even the way a mosque is set up, mwenye anakuja first ndo anakaa huko mbele, because there are no chairs. Correct. There's just a few chairs for people who have disabilities na nini. So there are no chairs. So whoever arrives first is the one who
first
gets
line.
to be. Yeah, is the one who gets to be on the first line.
Yes.
Na imepangika hivyo in rows, imepangika kwa masafu, so there's no space for, there's no aisles. Mskiti, yeah, I think that's a better. There are no aisles.
Yes, there are rows. Yes.
So it's rows, so it's whoever is on the first row, ndio second row, third row. So what I'd like is for them to be a bit more aggressive, like the way you see the American Muslims. They get so much into the aggression of American politics in trying to get their rights. So we don't have that so much in Kenya. I'd love to see that culture build up a little bit. And I think part of the reason is because there's fear. Because we've also been threatened a lot.
Conditioned. I think it's conditioning also.
There's conditioning and
then those killings.
Those
killings
yes.
have gone a long way.
Yes.
Anytime when somebody comes out and speaks kutoka mskitini,
yes,
boom, silenced.
Yeah, and then when they kill
extrajudicial.
Yeah.
I mean, we started talking extrajudicial killings with the Muslims.
Long time ago. Yeah.
Right? I mean, it happened, but when it actually started coming out, it was a Muslim.
Yeah.
Muslim. It was always a Muslim clerics.
Yeah. So that, kina makaburi, Kinarogo.
Makaburi, yes.
And then there was a couple of other ones. There was a couple of other ones who
Was
are
there
killed.
like almost 10?
Who are not
It was about 10 of them.
yeah, and then with the raiding of mosques like Masjid Musa, where you had very young people, like even people who are 7 years old, arrested and detained. So there's been that fear. But I would like, like for people to now come out and start speaking, like in the same way that now we are seeing these other religions come out and speak. I think that's something that's very that's very important.
What number is it that people can call in on again?
202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak.
Say it slowly.
202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. And I also want to remind all those who are tuned in that you're tuned into the OneMic Show, and I'm your host and producer Ali Badawi. We're talking about the church and the recent announcement refusing to accept money from the president. We'll shortly be talking about the abduction of Ugandan opposition politician Kizza Besiyge in Nairobi. Now, Besiyge mysteriously disappeared in a Ugandan military court after he mysteriously appeared in a Ugandan military court after his abduction. So stay tuned to know more about that. I know, Sambaza, you wanted us to talk about that. And then again, our lines are open. The number to call is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. Feel free to call. Tonight's episode is brought to you courtesy of Money Sending Up Lemfi. The OneMic Show is offering $30 for the first $100 sent on your first transaction using the code OneMic. So remember to click on the pinned comment. The link is there, both on YouTube and on Facebook. Download this app and claim your $30 when you send the first $100 out. Now, back to the church topic before we get to issue of Kizza Besiyge. Does this mark a turning point in public perception of the church, considering Gen Zs, of course, have had very negative perceptions of the church during their uprising? I don't know, Omosh, what do you think? Do you think this might be a turning point for them and people might start regaining confidence in the church?
I think so, because what's happened now is that the church has shown wakona I was gonna say, is it utu?
Cojones.
Is it utu? Is it feelings? Is it caring?
Empathy.
Is it,
Empathy is
yes,
the one.
the empathy.
Yeah.
They actually are showing that they are feeling the pain of their congregants.
Yeah.
Right? And prospective congregants, people who are basically have said, as we are sick, we are tired of being, we are sick of being sick and tired.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we don't participate anymore. But if you guys are coming out and showing that you can be one with us, then maybe now it seems you guys might just be getting it.
Yeah.
The reason why we don't come, naeza enda nipiga aluta na niendele kwanza. Sunday ndio siku poa ya kupiga hiyo aluta na nikiendelea nayo. You know what I'm saying? So instead of doing that, maybe I may... Correct. So maybe now I may dial down my alutaness and show up for 10 a.m. mass.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then if I really want to do kuendelea, naeza ndafanya sasa day party ile ya kumaliza ndio niende home nikilala.
Wow.
But I'm just saying that these guys are now feeling that it's no longer just somebody who's up there on the pulpit. They are with us. The pain that we have been feeling, what happened with us during the protests, during that time when the churches were safe spaces, we now see that you guys actually hear us, you're feeling us, you're understanding us, and you've even taken action.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. We're actually seeing a comment here on YouTube from...
Very interesting.
From before I go to Jimmy Chu's comment, there was some other comments here that are coming. Collins Kene, yeah, simple. Ruto must go. That's it.
He doesn't want to know anything else.
Nothing else.
He came in, he just
yeah.
put his head forward and he said, that's it.
Ruto must go. Collins, let us know where you're tuned in from and why you think Ruto must go. Yes, Mika.
State of the nation, he did again try to offer the a white flag to the church. You remember he said that he has released how much, 4 point something billion to help to faith-based health services.
Yeah.
Basically, the hospitals that the churches were running. So, again, he knows what this issue is. And for me, your question that you asked, does it? It does at some point. But the one thing that Kenyans have learned these days, Kenyans wanaitanga clout. Na wapendi hiyo cloud. So what Kenyans keep track. Wameachanga spiritual story ya Kiki na kwenda, they keep track. So it's gonna be a watch. Let's see how the church plays it out. But I think the church is the right way. Like I think also the church fairly choker.
Okay.
Because the way these guys had sold out the church. Well, anyway, almost tena kasongo.
Wow.
I'm in support with what Mika said.
Yeah, and hapa Jimmy Chu anauliza, is there a phone number to call? The number again is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. Check kama Jimmy Chu ametupigia simu. Jimmy Chu says, I'm a 25-year-old living in New York City. The Kenyan church has lost the youth in the state. In the states too many years ago, not just in Kenya. And I don't know what the state of the
man. We need to talk to Jimmy Chu.
We need to talk to Jimmy Chu because this is a topic that we've wanted to,
a different caller,
to cover.
I think.
Or there's a caller?
Yes.
Okay.
A caller.
All right. So again, Jimmy Chu, get in touch with us because this is a topic that we've wanted to cover, but not known exactly how to do it. So let us know. What's the last four numbers?
1253. 1253. Thank you for calling the OneMic Show. Name and where you're calling from?
That's Jimmy Chu.
Oh.
No? Say again.
This is Gerald Oliech calling from Texas.
Oh, Gerald. Karibu sana. Talk to us, Gerald, from Texas. What side of Texas are you in?
Houston.
Okay.
Welcome to the OneMic Show.
Sawa. Karibu na kina Tabitha. Gerald, talk to us.
Sante. My opinion on the church, sincerely, is that we need to look at the church in very many aspects, that the politicians have come to a place to use it both as a tool and a weapon. Politically, it's the best tool they have to gather anyone who has got an ear to listen, because you think about it, when you're in church and the pastor held the mic from the worship leader to the guy who is making the announcements, you're at a place whereby you're keen to listen, because announcement after announcement from worship to the pastor, and then now the politician comes in. So that is the greatest tool they have, that is unprecedentedly even beyond media. And then the unfortunate thing that I feel people don't realize is that people's hearts and minds are already tuned in to the point that when a politician goes to church, they are literally just now figuring a new box. Now, unfortunately, what's happening is we also need to realize that the money that the church holds is also an aspect that now the politicians are using, because think about it, which politician goes to a church, speaks, and doesn't drop a dime or two? Now, again, the same church, if you look at how the charismatic church was used by Mr. Ruto and his clan, as in, whether guys believe this or not, the tune of voters, alignment, because he was seen in the church, he was seen crying in the church, he was seen the church advocating for him and everything, that was already a landslide. So I feel like what you've just mentioned about the mosque is something that should happen, like whereby let church be church, because church and state, I feel, cannot mix. Because when you think about it, if Ruto was really born again, how as a born again leader, as he claims to be, would he allow abductions and killing to go on? So at that time, is he serving God, or is he serving the state, or his selfish motives? And that's where the line between church and state will always bring a dilemma that will never help Kenya. Because are you moving or pushing policies out of morality, selfish gain, or for the good of the country? So my opinion would be the church, like what the Catholics have done. And then also, let's look at the church in another aspect. What the Catholics have done, if you look at it, is a certain age group. If you come to our mid-age group, the 40s and below, them, they're still on the charismatic side. Then if you go to now the old money and the old folks and the Moi kind of guy, we're talking about the AICs and the Presbyterians. All those are still divided functions and factions that politicians are going to use against us. So my personal opinion, church and state should just be gone. Go to church, be preached to, ukatwe, ama you receive and you go home. That's my opinion.
But now, Gerald, what about now the church stepping in when there's issues with the state? Do you think that's a good or bad thing? Should they just stick to their lane, or should they come out and say something when the state is doing things they're not supposed to be doing, like abducting young people?
Exactly. They should come out and speak, because the church is about morality.
Yes.
If you look at if you look at what's in the constitution, half of the things that's in the constitution, the church cannot stand. Because, for example, right now, if look at what happened to Gachagua. Morally, do you think that was right? Morally,
No, like
because
the impeachment.
The same thing that Ruto was speaking. Yeah, the impeachment. Morally, was that right? You're literally lynching someone because you have political
Differences.
gain or political differences. Now,
They'll say it
morally,
was the law.
I'm sure.
They'll
I'm,
say it was
yeah,
the law.
I'm sure even in your Quran, just like the Bible, there's a way you can't just be a false witness against someone. In fact, in the Bible, it literally says, if there's one thing God hates, and you can Google this, there are 3 or 4 things God hates, and one of them is someone who brings division or dissension amongst people or amongst brothers. Now,
Wow.
someone who is born again and they're there and they're applying that false move. Now, the church should come up and obviously be given ears by the state to listen that what you guys are doing are not wrong. But unfortunately, whether the government or the state chooses to follow, that's another story. But yes, the church should be very vocal. And even Islam, I believe, should be very vocal. I mean, every religion or moral, should I say, stature should be vocal to let the state know what you guys are doing is not right. But them mixing with them, the church mixing with state, that for me is just, it should be night and day. Because like right now, how come the churches wanted calling out when people, during the Gen Z violence, oh, this is a man of God. God already said that this is going to be the man of God. This was going to be the man of God, and you're seeing your children or your congregants' children being abducted. Do you know the kind of falling outs that are in churches? You guys should do a thing about churches and hear how people have even left church because how is a pastor saying that this is the man of God that God appointed? God told you, Sawa. But this man you're saying, my child has died because of this man. There's a very big division growing in the church, and it's going to be so bad that I don't even know how people are not even seeing how it's growing. Because people have died, and you're saying this is a man of God. This guy is bringing in policies that is hurting each and every one of us, but you're saying he's a man of God. Churches already having factions between them. So what the Catholics did was great, without a doubt. But look at how the charismatic churches and all the big churches, which are, sorry to say, million, whatever, are not even in any way talking right now. This is a matter of we are praying. But you can't pray and not come out and act. Your prayer and your deeds need to be aligned.
Wow. That's very
I actually
that's
agree
very
with him
profound.
because I actually agree with him because remember the image that these guys had put on the church. The image that these guys had put on the church was that they had bought the church and they were using the church for money laundering. All those 200 million Kenyan shillings churches that they were building in the middle of villages, no schools, no nothing, but a huge church that they were using to launder money from, that ruined the image of the church. So the prosperity churches actually need to actually start saying something. Apart from Anitwanga Ngash. Nganga is the only one who fights him. And those few other, the mama that OneMic mentioned and a few other
Margaret
churches.
Tuyo and Joe, his
But
video.
majority of them who have gotten millions and millions of donations from him, they need to start talking.
Wow. I mean, this is very profound. Sasa Gerald, before we let you go, if we have an episode specifically dedicated to the church, especially the church out here in the diaspora, because it's been a big institution for a long time, what exactly would you like us, 2-3 things that you'd like us to cover before we let you go, Gerald?
In regards to church?
Yes, if we were to have an episode, if we were to host an episode regarding the church in Kenya, the church upper diaspora, what are 2-3 key issues that you would like us to cover that you feel will be of benefit to the audience?
one. So for me, church, I feel captures everyone's attention because they deal with things which matter to every society: marriage, money, and morality. 3 M's that we need in life. Doesn't matter which country, religion, culture you come from. Money, marriage, morality. Now,
funerals.
Sorry?
Mazishi.
Mika ameongeza mazishi, funerals.
Oh, mazishi.
Yeah.
The 4
okay,
M's.
Yeah, mazishi.
Yeah.
You
So-
start, you finish.
So 4 M's.
So for me, those three.
Yeah.
So those 4 issues. Because if you look at, just look at the basis of any church. They've got to preach morality. If not, they're definitely doing it down. Money, because you're either tithing or you're fundraising for, what do you call it, schools, health, hospitals, and like Mika just added, like, what do you call it, helping, benevolence. That's what I'm looking for, benevolence.
Yeah.
However, morality is the basis of it all, because, and this is why, and unfortunately, I get into problem with most pastors I talk to. You see, then if you look at, and I believe also in Quran, you can correct me if I'm wrong. What's your name? I'm forgetting it.
Ali.
Jera yani hata
Yeah, Ali. By the way, one mic can tell you I'm very bad with names.
The Muslim
So-
guy. It's
Yeah.
the Muslim guy.
Yeah, the Muslim guy. Sorry.
Yeah.
This is the problem that I feel.
Yeah.
This is the problem I feel
Yeah.
that church has been used by politics, and church is coming out of the foundation of what is about Christ or Allah and relation to politics. We are trying to have church, the way of the Bible into the politics, which can't work, because if you look at how the Bible talks about is kingdoms, I don't know what kind of politics you have in kingdoms. As such, I don't find any. But in country where there's democracy and stuff, you have politics. Kingdom is about legacy. Kingdom is about succession. Kingdom is about my son, the lineage and everything. So we're trying to apply principles that can only work in kingdom. Democracy cannot work in a kingdom. Politics cannot work in a kingdom. But the church tries to inculcate itself in that. And you can, like I've explained, the line between morality and politics does not mix. It doesn't even bring any kind of meshing. Now, and then I've mentioned the 3 M's. The second thing I would think they need to work on, or the church needs to understand, is what their real place is. Is it for society, for family, or to bring out, should I say, the holiness of Allah or Christ into the world? Because both the Bible and Quran tells us who we should be and what we should be.
Mm-hmm.
Not to try and pretend to be something or try and do something that doesn't work. I mean, I normally say principles are principles. They'll never change. We found principles here. We live principles here. Isaac Newton did not invent any of these things we see in. I mean, he just got to find out what it really is and gave us a formula. They were there.
They were there from before.
So they were there from. They're not going to change. So can we be more principled than being governed by all selfish needs and motives? And the last thing, let's just be simple. I mean, what happened to We Are the World? I mean, America Tangua in the We Are the World, me, I've never seen them doing anything of any gain that can say we're trying to bring this world together. So, unity. Those are things I think should be discussed.
Okay. Aya. Gerald, asante sana. And we will let you know. I mean, this, of course, because 2024 and Akuisha, that's going to be on our plan for 2025, because this is a topic that has been on the deck for a very long time. Asante sana, salimia watu wa Houston. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Now we have 1253. 1253. Thank you for calling the OneMic Show. Tafadhali, Gina, and where you're calling from.
Welcome to the OneMic Show.
One, two,
Hey,
five.
this is Jimmy. Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
Jimmy, loud
Jimmy.
and clear. Where are you calling us from?
New York City.
I'm calling from New York City. I'm the guy who was talking about the church losing us here too.
All right, Jimmy Chu. Do you by any chance make shoes or anything of that sort?
No, he just had a chew called Jimmy.
Okay, all right. Okay, Jimmy, talk to us.
So I just want to start off by saying, Ali, I love hearing your perspective because, quite honestly, I don't know. I think you're one of the maybe 5 Muslim Kenyans that I know, right? So I love hearing your perspective on things. That's pretty dope.
Okay.
As far as the Kenyan church here in the U.S., I'll start off by saying most Kenyans that I know, they get integrated into the communities here, starting with the church. You land here, you're probably hosted by a family you knew, whether you knew them from this or that. That's where you start. But once you get introduced into the church, that's where you meet 90% of the Kenyans you'll know in the States, right? So for me, I would say I grew up in Delaware, right above D.C., and there's a strong community of Kenyans there.
Mm-hmm.
This was back in 02, 03, 04. Every Kenyan you knew was in church, this and the other. But I started noticing that, like, after the youths would reach probably, like, let's say after high school, they would disappear from the church. I felt like the church at the time didn't have anything in place for the young people to transition into. Like, yes, you have Sunday school, you have youth meetings, this and the other, but it's like it felt after, like, high school, you were just like, oh, where did he go? He used to come here. He used to be with us with the youth. Now he's gone. That's one of the main things that I would say. The church lost the youth from that perspective. Also, a lot of the younger people coming up now in our generation, it's okay to question things, right? I'm 25. I wouldn't say I'm the youngest. I'm probably one of the younger of your listeners, right? But for my generation, it's okay to question things. So you have a lot of people that I come across personally who are my age. You'll come across them. You talk about religion. You get there, and then they'll tell you, "Oh yeah, I drifted out of it." And it's kind of like the same story. It's like you kind of end up questioning it. You're learning history. Okay, yeah, we really weren't practicing this 200 years before, this and the other. So it's a combination of the church not having really anything in place for the youth after a certain age, in my perspective, and then also a generation where it's okay to question everything. You question, why is this way? Why is that way? And it's not, like, frowned upon. So I would say that's 2 core things of why the church has lost the youth, especially in the States, in the diaspora. But that's not to denounce the importance of the church, because, like I said, most Kenyans who come here, you get integrated from starting from a church point of view.
So let me ask you a question, Jimmy Chu, on your age mates. So you're saying most people in your age who, like, were either born or raised here, they went to church, but at some point they kind of, like, transitioned out. Is that correct?
Yeah, 90% of the people my age, 25, whether you're a little older, maybe 28, or a little younger, we all grew up in the church. We were in Sunday school. We would hang out in church, out of church. It was like, these were my people every day. So
here's my question. Did you, with your transitioning out of church, now the people who transition, now the people in that age group, is it that they just are not going to church, or they're not feeling a connection with Christianity anymore? Where would you say most of you are?
Let me keep it real. I'm gonna be 100%.
100%. Yeah.
You have our culture, our African culture. It's not okay to talk about certain things, right? So you look at the world we live in. We live in America.
Yeah.
In middle school, kids are smoking weed in bathrooms. You have people are getting pregnant, this and the other, right?
Sheesh.
And it's not okay to talk about that type of stuff in your household. You would think that the church would set up something in place, probably for the youth. What's it called? So I wouldn't say that it's like, oh, we hate Christianity, but it becomes kind of like repetitive. You're just going to church to do this, but there's not much support outside of those things. And I feel like they should relate more to what kids are going through in real life. Because you could come here, you could read me a scripture, but when all of my friends at school are smoking weed and they want me to smoke weed with them, who's there to actually talk about that? Not just tell me weed is bad. Weed is bad, right?
So you're saying that they don't cater, meaning they don't have safe spaces or an area where y'all can air things out, talk them out, and try to figure it out, as opposed to being told, these are the directions I'm giving you, follow the directions, don't ask questions.
Yeah, so it stems from our culture where certain things are just not talked about, and then it also comes to actually understanding what these kids are going through, because they could come to you as youths. Yes, they're 17 in church, right? But they're not going to be 100% with you if they're not comfortable. They're not going to tell you the truth, right?
Yeah.
So you need people my age. I would say 25. If
Absolutely.
the 25-year-olds were still in church, I could sit there and talk to the 18-year-old, the high schooler, right? Because I went through that just a few years ago. It's fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
But the church has lost so many of us for so long that there's not that, like, there's no transition. There's nobody to help you transition. There's so much missing from the top that at a certain point you just drop out too. You're just like, hey, I'm in the real world. I'm gonna figure it out. Life goes on.
Wow. I mean, this is so profound. You know, like these are some of those gems.
Very interesting. And this is the part where we get people like Kinarahema back to tell us what went wrong.
And now we have Jimmy Chu. We have Jimmy Chu.
Correct.
Jimmy Chu.
He's already laid it out and told us here is what is going on.
Yes, and I feel like we need a more extended conversation.
Yes,
with Jimmy.
And it's not only here, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's even in Kenya.
It's in Kenya too.
Yeah. It's. I don't know if it's the age group. I don't know. Like Jimmy, do you talk to folks your age in Kenya?
Yeah, Sean Pia is a church leader, so he has to come now from the grown-up side and explain it. But you're asking Jimmy a question.
Yeah, so Jimmy, do you speak to folks your age in Kenya and about this similar scenario, or have you seen that it's the same thing?
Okay, so you guys are a little choppy, but I picked up a lot of what you just asked. As far as relation to youth in Kenya, I'll be honest. I can keep in touch with my cousins.
Yes.
But I don't think a lot of us youths here, I would say like under 30s, are really staying that close in touch with the youths. Now, I'll put it like this: when this stuff started happening, with the rejection bill,
yes,
I will tell you that the youths here were very on top of it. Like, I was posting about it. I was watching in every angle. I follow all the top political leaders in Kenya. We're very tuned into what's going on in the bills, and we can understand, like, okay, what can we do? How can we spread awareness on our part to make sure that bill's not passed, right? Like, I don't think I've watched more Kenyan news in my life than in the past probably 2-3 months. I'm telling you, is it Spice FM? I would be on there at 9 a.m. instead of being on my morning calls for work. I'm listening to Kenyan news. But we're very tuned in. But as far as actually being in touch with the youth themselves, I think we're very distant. We don't have a good channel
connect
or a community to build. So something like there's no bridge that keeps us actually in touch unless we know each other.
Okay, all right. I mean, this is very good conversation.
Very good conversation.
So not to get personal with you, were you born here or you came here as a young kid?
Oh, no, I have no problem answering. So for me, I'm 25, born in 99. I lived in Kenya until I was 4, turning 5.
Okay.
So my earliest memories are in Kenya.
Okay.
I came to America speaking fluent Swahili and my fluent mother tongue as well. So my third language is English. But I sound very, very American because I've lived most of my life here.
Correct.
But I have gone back and forth to visit.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. That's that. Like we will get in touch with you, and I think we need to have an extended conversation on this because I think parents need to hear, and even these people who are running these
the churches.
These churches, they also need to hear.
Disconnect. And
now they need to understand.
To understand why these kids are.
Why I say this? There's been we've had that issue also with Muslims who come here are very young. And I think at some point the mosques picked up on it. In places like Texas, where I share you the videos are epic masjids. They have very elaborate programs for young people run by young people. Not programs for young people run by people who are in their 40s or in their 50s. They are programs run by young people.
So they don't have one mic running the show with
No.
Kina.
No,
Okay.
they actually have, and even some of their scholars who are giving this are people who are born in the U.S. because mosques sometimes
That
tended to
relation,
be
yes, yeah.
to heavily have like people who are born from the immigrant population, like run the mosques. But like when you go to Texas, most of the people, the Yasir Qadis, the Omar Suleimans, those are people, they're in their 40s, they're the imams, but they were born here. They understand the culture here. They understand what people went through in middle school. They understand what people, and then now they understand that these 12-year-olds, they are better off working with someone who's 19 or 20, who recently went through
the same
what they were
thing.
experiencing.
Yeah.
They have a better shot
Yes.
with them, and
100%.
that has worked much better. And actually, many people are looking towards those masjids in Texas. New York also has some very good programs. New York has been doing this for a very long time. They're looking towards that. The one big difference, of course, between mosques and churches here in the U.S. is that mosques are not ethnically segregated. There's no such thing as a Kenyan mosque or a Ugandan mosque or a Nigerian mosque.
That's very true.
Yeah, we don't
That's
know
what I
that.
really respect about my
Yeah.
Muslim brothers.
Yeah.
I have a lot of Muslim friends.
Yes, so that's
Like the
one
community.
that's one big difference. So like when you're there, you're Kenyan, you're meeting Nigerians, you're meeting like people from other countries, you're meeting like people from European countries. It's usually a very
During
interesting
Ramadan,
mix.
I used to live next to a mosque. I would hang out with my Yemeni friends and my Nigerians. Everyone would show up, and it would just be a brotherly hood type of thing, even though I'm not Muslim.
And then you'd show up to eat the food when
Hell
it's time to
yes.
break the fast. All right, Uno Mike.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, like in Balti, I don't know about Gaithersburg or Laurel, Bowie, whatever. What I
Yeah.
know is churches, it's either church ya Omosh, ama church ya Mika, ama church ya Jimmy Choo.
huko Boldi wanakosana hata juu ya kanisa.
Si ndio?
So it's not only segregated by nationality, but they're also ethnically
personality.
segregated.
I mean,
There's-
it's personality.
Personality.
A lot. It's a lot about
me and you
personalities.
fall out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Me and you have a church. We fall out.
Thank you, Jimmy
So
Choo.
the people who come to my church are not supposed to come to your church.
Wow. Okay. All right,
And
Jimmy
they're not
Choo.
supposed to talk to people who go to your church. That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the church separations normally like that. Even if it's like, let's say, a pastor who is married, that's the first lady, and then they divorce. First lady goes with her people,
Okay.
and the guy remains. So
Or-
it's a very interesting.
It's a very weird dynamic.
Yes.
All right, Jimmy Choo. Before we let you go, please tell us where you first heard about the OneMic Show and when you first started listening to us.
Okay, so surprisingly, I had watched one of your episodes probably a year or two ago. Completely forgot about the podcast. But last week, you guys had Nathan Wangoshi, right? I know him personally. I had met him
Yes.
a while back.
Mm-hmm.
And when you guys were talking about politics, I'm a Trump voter, proudly, shamelessly, and I would have loved to talk on that conversation as well
Okay.
and explain to you why me as a 25-year-old Trump and everything. But that's not the conversation today. Most people my age.
Well. Think there's anything